Scuderia Ferrari Edition, the heart of the race.
Welcome to the 11th round of the Formula SimRacing World Championship. FSR heads into the night and under the lights of the Marina Bay circuit, a circuit linked with exhausting races and claustrophobic barriers. Who is going to withstand the pressure? The championship has already been settled, and SimRacing has already taken that, but there is plenty of up for grabs over the next few rounds of the championship, don't you worry. Today, let's play alongside Rodger, who's a very, very busy boy. So we'll give him a little bit of a rest to take you through the 61 lap race. This is the circuit that we'll be looking at, 5.063 kilometres, 61 laps, as I said, 23 corners every single lap they go round. It is a very difficult circuit. Some famous corners, though, for sure. The Singapore Sling, out with that. That went a few years ago. Still, place of the better corner, in my opinion, just going to say. Overtaking, very, very difficult around here. We're going to see some strategical play up and down the order, of course, with that top 10 having to sit on the compound that they've qualified on. We've got some of the harder compounds here. I think it's the soft, medium and hard for this evening's racing. So we'll have to see how that's going to unfold. 2-stop, 1-stop, very, very tricky to pick between. We think a soft, hard is probably a little bit too much of a push for the 61-lap race. Of course, it's a very long one, like we said. The car, though, 933 brake horsepower, 370 kilometers. We're not going to see that top speed here. We've seen two previous rounds at Spa and at Monza where the racing has been extreme thanks to the slipstream, thanks to the DRS, thanks to the top speed of these cars. We're not going to see quite the same style of racing here. It's going to be more strategical play and potentially some late moves. It's going to be exciting racing nonetheless. Of course, a bit of fuel management will always play into it. We saw a few drivers earlier in the day blowing their engines through a lack of fuel and engine management. But a few weeks ago, we saw Jerne Simoncic, who took victory, but not only in the race, in the World Championship, ahead of Robin Panzar and Petter Burlak. Of course, the man you might be missing on that is Janis Brakshock, who did originally finish second position, but was landed with a penalty that dropped him down to about 7th position with that incident with Martin Gosby. So that promotes Robin Panzar up to second and Petter Burlak onto the podium. So good for them, but we'll obviously have to see how it unfolds here at Singapore. A very, very different circuit than what we've had previously. Back to a street circuit, tight, twisty, no mistakes through what will be effectively an endurance race. We're in the qualifying session at the moment, but whilst we're here, we might as well take a quick look at the championship standings, which obviously you don't have, so prepare yourself. I'm going to have to read it off myself. Only two men have taken victory in 2019, Jerne Simoncic and Martin Gosby, the only two. Jerne Simoncic has taken 8 race victories this season. Actually has won here last season on his way to second in the championship. Of course, that's already sorted this season, so don't you worry about that. Petter Burlak is in 3rd position, only 4 points back from Martin Gosby after the DNF at Spa and the disqualification at Italy, courtesy of him racing around without the front wing. So Burlak potentially in a position here to maybe snatch a sneaky second. Robin Panzer is in fourth position ahead of Jeffrey Fournier. He rounds out that top 5. One other driver I would like to just point out very quickly on the standings. We're not going to run through all of it. 10th position is Sander Callas. Now, the reason why I bring him up and the intrigue around that is because 12 months ago when we came to Singapore, he took his only podium of the season there. A completely topsy-turvy season, same as what we've seen from him realistically this season. But he took a podium at this circuit from 6th on the grid as well. So potentially it could be a good track for Sander Callas, who's down there in the top 10. He's already taken a podium previously this season. A fair while ago, though, back in the French Grand Prix, of course, up there with Jeffrey Fournier and our main man, Jene Simicic. Team standings pretty much secured on the part of ACR, the main team. Sitting pretty, 129 points clear of ACR Blue, who are 36 clear of Edge Esports. Jean Lacey Esports, a lot of DNFs recently. Of course, a lot of bad luck around their Italian Grand Prix. They are in 4th position, potentially could move themselves further forward. We'll have to see how it unfolds for them. And HME Aura Miller putting in some decent results recently. Ricardo Costa struggled the last couple of rounds, though. Obviously, at Spa, he wasn't really struggling. I mean, he was battling for the lead sort of at one point. But then with a penalty, he was dropped outside of the point. So actually hasn't scored in the previous 2 rounds, has Ricardo Costa. Jeffrey Fournier has done a very good job and scored every time this season, with the exception of China. Whew. Now, with all that read off, and with 12 minutes of the session to go, pole position, very, very important around here, as you can imagine, around a street circuit like this. Cam, talk to me about the importance of pole on a tight, twisty place.
Yes, good evening, everyone. And yeah, this, I mean, just if you just look at the track, you can see that there are 3 straights, but they're not quite long enough to make overtaking easy. So you really want to be on that pole position, so then you can defend for all your might for the whole race. And there's a very good chance if you get pole position, you will be the one taking victory today. And so far, that is Robin Panzer for the ACR Blue team. He's closely followed by Martin Gosby, only 8 thousandths behind, and Jene Simicic is only 37 thousandths, and also Peter Burlak is only 51 thousandths behind. So it is very close at the top.
Absolutely. Peter Burlak, I say, keep an eye on him. We know what he's like on his tyres through the race, so if he qualifies in that position, it could be an interesting one. This Grand Prix has been run 7 times previously. The interesting thing from that is, of those, 6 times have been run from pole position, as far as my... 5 times been run from pole position. Twice, it's been won from 3rd, well, once from 3rd and once from 4th. So, realistically, 4th is as low as you want to qualify. That's the position that's currently being held by Peter Burlak. From that, though, no one's ever won from 2nd. So, you know, Gosby's got to step it up if he wants to win from that position. But this is a track, though, which... Oh, Sander Callas up onto pole position. I said it might be a good track for him. Up onto pole, 35.415. That's a good time for the NetRex driver. So, very good so far. But yeah, it's a track that bites, isn't it?
Yeah, the walls are very close, and if you make a tiny little mistake, then you will be into one of those, and your lap will be ruined, and your race even ruined if you get it wrong. And someone who has not got it wrong so far is Martin Gosby. He has done a personal best middle sector, but he was fastest of anyone in that first sector, currently in 3rd position. He only needs to get half a tenth to get provisional pole position. He will still probably have 2 attempts left after this one, but you always want to get in your time as early as possible. Never know what can happen, but he's only got 2 corners left to navigate to see if he can put it on provisional pole position. See, the only person to win a race apart from Simicic this season. Where can he put himself? Yes, he gets provisional pole position by 10th and a half. So we're now down into the low 1 minute 35. So the times are really coming in now.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be stepping it up for sure, of course. These drivers trying to break the stranglehold that ACR have on the pole position at the top end of the course. Race victories, they've won every single one this season. Pole positions, they've not had every single one. D'Alessandro's had one, Kirill Burikov had one, and of course, at the last time, Janis Brakshot had a pole position. Is someone else going to break that at the top at the moment? Maybe not so much. Martin Gosby having had a few pole positions previously in the season. One from the British Grand Prix from pole, one from the German Grand Prix from pole. Realistically, looked very, very well set to win back in Spa from pole. So he's had a few pole positions recently, but really stepped it up to just move to ACR. As
Yeah.
ACR proper.
Yeah,
ACR
I mean
Blue.
they are kind of the the same team as such, and maybe in hindsight Gosby could have been in that team from the start, but he did have a little bit of a rough time at the beginning of the year. But I mean, he was a race winner before this season, knows what he's doing in WC, and it's good to see that he's flourishing now in ACR main team.
Yeah, he's definitely stepped up to Jene Simicic. Has realistically been a match for him every race. Unfortunately, as I say, Spa, technical issue got him out of it. Then back in Italy, I mean, I think he was going to absolutely clear off in that once he got past Jonas Brakshock. Unfortunately, Jene Simicic had got past Jonas Brakshock. I think he was the quicker car. That was Gosby. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make anything stick from it, thanks to an incident. But he's really shown a lot of pace recently, and potentially you want to end the season on a lot of good momentum, and ending it with a few race wins against a driver with the might of Jene Simicic is obviously a good way to end it. You wonder though if Jene Simicic will take his foot off the gas a little bit though. Probably not.
I don't know. I don't know. Singapore is a track he's very good at as well, so I doubt he's going to lift off the pedal that much. I mean, obviously in terms of prize money, it is per point, so still going to be pushing to the end to get as many points as possible. So still that sort of would as well. But obviously, yeah, he's won the championship, so he probably won't be trying 110%, but he still certainly about 105 or something like that.
Yeah. He has had 2 pole positions previously at the circuit.
Sander Callis, purple in the first and second sector. In fact, his second sector is the only one in the 34s. Everyone else is doing 35 something. So this could be pole position for Sander Callis, who
wasn't
is
good there though.
Often a qualifying man, not so good in the race, but we all know how good pole position is at Singapore. Can he take provisional pole? Yes, he can, by 1/100th of a second to Martin Gosby with 7 minutes remaining.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think through turn 20 and 21, I reckon he could have gained a bit more time there. The car seemed a little bit leery on the rear end, lost a little bit on the exit at 21, the run down towards the final real corner, the double apex 22-23. So potentially some more time in there. Jumps Gosby by 100th of a second. He's about to start his third run on the circuit. Of course, a very abrasive circuit that we have here in Singapore. Remember that all those that are qualifying, that will qualify inside the top 10, have to start on that compound. So I mean, maybe we'll see some interesting strategies outside of that, but no one's realistically, as far as I can see, is qualifying on a different compound trying to get in the top 10.
Yeah, with qualifying being so important here, I doubt anyone would want to risk being out of position due to qualifying on, say, the mediums. It has worked at other tracks, but here it's just all about the qualifying. If you start in the top 5, then you in the top 5. So that is what these drivers are going to be aiming for, including Peter Burlak. He's done 2 personal bests. He's only 1/4 of a second off pole, but the top is so close that means he's in 5th position so far, and he has certainly been sort of a standout, has Burlak. If you exclude the ACR cars, he's had a few good results, podiums, keeping the ACR boys sane. He's got a little bit of a toe here to the line, so where can he put himself? Pole! Wow, he had a really good final sector. He did purple in the final sector, and he's managed to nick pole there. I don't know if that slipstream at the end had anything or just nailed it, but yeah, Peter Burlak, just saying he was a standout performer apart from ACR, and he's just on a provisional pole position.
A previous world champion, a fair few years ago, mind, but definitely one who's been towards the top end of the series. 2015, I believe it was, when he won the world championship. So yeah, a long way back, but has had a fair few victories here. Of course, driving for Edge. I did see another championship. Jene Simicic was driving for Edge Esports. Of course, that team's in a very odd place. We don't really know where Edge Esports, where ACR really is at the moment, like with who's running it, and it's a bit of a messy scenario. So we won't go too far into that. Don't worry. But Simicic driving for ACR at the moment has links with Edge Esports as well. So curiosity onto where he'll be in 2020.
I mean, you never know. As far as I'm aware, basically outside of FSR, obviously Simicic isn't contracted there as far as I'm aware. So I think that's why he's probably driving there, because he wants to enter all of the competitions, see where he can get a seat. But it's good to see that he is still in 4th place even after winning that title, and it's good to see that people are sort of bringing him down to earth. That he can't be beaten. He isn't just going to run off into the distance. I'm
Yeah,
now
it's just
Mohammed Patel go up to 7th place. So Jean Alesi, not the best day, but 7th place, that is good enough.
yeah, you got to throw a bit of speculation. Come on, we're in that happy part of the season where everyone could just be like, oh, anyone's driving for anyone.
Yeah, who knows what will happen in 2020. I mean, he's completed his goal now, has Simicic winning the title. He obviously came second 3 years in a row to finally win it. He worked very hard.
To win anything at this kind of level, you have to work very, very hard. There is that you are always under pressure at all times to win at this kind of level. There's no cruising involved.
David Mocek just had a trip to the barriers. So he will not be completing this lap. But what about his teammate Robin Panzer? Not the best sectors so far. He's only got 2 more corners to go. This very fast double left-hander. Just a small lift off. Where can he put himself? Doesn't improve, stays in 5th place.
He improved the time a wee bit, but obviously not enough to move him up a position. Will anyone have anything for Burlak? We're heading into the final 3 minutes of the session, so the final runs will be beginning now. That'll be it. One thing that I will say is a bit interesting. I've spoken about quite a bit over the last few rounds on how they've really moved forward. Seem to be struggling here in Singapore at the moment. Currently in 9th and 11th position is Ghostspeed. Of course, they were the team that really took the fight to ACR last time out. I think they almost scared ACR last time out in Italy. Dennis Brackshot goes up into 6th position. Whilst we're talking over him with a few personal bests, a 35.610 to his name, only improves by a few tenths of a second, but it's enough to move him deeper into that top 10. Lukaszek, his teammate, who I believe last time qualified about 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, they were both high up.
Yeah, they were both very high up, and both had a good start. I think they were really splitting the ACRs at one point.
Yeah, this is a really, I mean, you can see just by the times are a bit more spread out than normal, because this is really confidence track. So if a driver has good confidence, they will just gain a few tenths. And obviously, Ghostspeed, it's at least in Lukaszek's term, it's not quite working as well. He's 8 tenths off. But then again, people like Burlak are some of the fastest that we have in rFactor 2.
Yeah, incredible competition here in the World Championship. Got other drivers about to start their final few laps. Sander Callis is already on his first sector though, not very good. And he missed the apex there. So I don't think this is going to be a great lap from Sander Callis. Either way, a 2nd position on the grid would be a good result for him. Oh, absolutely on the limit before heading over the Anderson Bridge.
Yeah, no sector that is being set right now is a personal best, so I don't know whether people are just starting to push over the limit now, but yeah, no one is improving as of yet.
Yeah, again, no improvement in that 2nd sector. He's absolutely throwing it to the limit, though. These tyres won't be good for a 2nd lap, though, will they?
No, I mean, because of the lap limit as well, it's very difficult to do 2 laps in a row. So, yeah, most drivers just do a single flying lap. They've got basically 4 attempts during the 20 minutes to set their laps. Callis now has 1 corner to go. I don't think it's going to be pole position. And yes, he's just lost the rear. The rear tyres gave up. So that will be 2nd place at best for Sander Callis, because he does not have enough time or laps to set another one. And most drivers are just sort of to start their last laps, or they're on them right now. So let's go on board with Jene Simicic, 2019 FSR World Drivers Champion. He's currently in 4th position, coming through this new-ish section. This new chicane, which is really weird because you can actually send it over those anti-cuts. You've got to have quite a lot of confidence in the car. Or you come onto this new 3rd DRS zone down the back straight, which can potentially see some overtaking in the race. But for now, he's just trying to go as quick as he can. This is all the road up to the wall as well, into a really tricky Sector 3. It's just basically 3 chicanes, and they're all different. Every apex of these 3 chicanes are all different. Really get the rhythm going over the curbs. Trying to get as close to the walls on the outside as well. Coming to this little run before the final corner. Jene Simicic has done a personal best in the middle sector, so he can possibly get an improvement here. Where can he put himself? He goes up to P1. So he did a really good purple third sector there. That looks really nice, and he is on provisional pole position for the moment. Petter Burlak is in the third sector as well. Everyone else behind has finished their lap, so it's really Petter Burlak who can challenge for this pole position right now.
Burlak's lap's gone away from him. I've seen him through this third sector. He's really lost a bit. I mean, of course, the first and second sector weren't amazing, so we had to have an incredible final sector. It's just not going to be good enough. Goes to the line, doesn't improve. Or he doesn't improve. He does apparently a 35. No, it's 35.380, so he actually didn't improve at all. Yannick Simičić, though. Let's have pole twice here before. We've got Panzar coming through the final corner, going up towards the line, improves time, not position. And that's him done. And Eric Andre to the line moves up 1 position to 17th. And that's our qualifiers done. So Yannick Simičić has had pole twice here before and has won both times from that pole position. Only 2 drivers have won at this circuit twice. Yannick Simičić and Bono Huis. Bono won there in the first 2 years. He ran in 2010 and 2013. Once from pole, once from 4th. So, yeah, that's trying to beat a man of that stature for a record around this circuit. Well, it's up for grabs. Yannick Simičić starting from the best position possible here at the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah, pole position is definitely going to put him in a good position to win this race. And we actually did a test race, just a private test race on Singapore a couple of weeks ago. And he won that by 30 seconds. And there was some decent drivers in there, so I think he is going to be the person we're looking out for to take in today. But as we go into this warm-up session, take a quick ad break. Get back, we will run you through full grid and get you ready for this 61 lap race in Singapore. See you.
Do you want a more immersive experience? Thrustmaster T150 force feedback racing wheel. Official PS3 and PS4 licenses, and also PC compatible. Rubber coated wheel grips. 1080 degrees of rotation. Adjustable force feedback. Large metal sequential pad. Optimized ergonomic design. Mixed belt, pulley, and gears system. Thrustmaster. Enter into the real driving world.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
You'll let me play?
Yeah. So I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race you for it.
So I have to
Scuderia Ferrari Edition, the heart of the race.
Well, welcome back under the lights of Singapore while they're getting ready for the Grand Prix. We've got a few minutes left of warm up, which gives us enough time to just very quickly again run us through the championship standings, just so we can really let you know what's still up for grabs in the 2019 World Championship. Yannick Simčić, he's won it. 118-point lead, which is crazy, by the way, that he has over Martin Gosby. But that second position that Gosby's in is under heavy pressure from Petter Burlak, who is pushing very, very hard around here, by the way. I think we're going to see a good Grand Prix from the Edge Esports driver. Only 4 points separating those. Robin Panzar not out of it as well. Also courtesy of the penalty that went the way of Janis Brakshock, who, as you can see, is down in 8th position now in the standings. Had actually moved up quite far in the standings, but has now dropped back down as he got a penalty from 2nd to 7th. So interesting things. One person that we were talking about prior to this is Jeffrey Fournier, who's qualified in 13th, I believe it is. Now, he's been one to run the alternate strategy a lot. And I reckon around here he can make something really, really work from that. He's currently in 5th position. I think 4th to 2nd is out of reach for him, but he can really, really secure 5th position, especially with McGlade D'Alessandro not here thanks to a wheel failure. So he is not able to take part in the Singapore Grand Prix. So potentially a strong 5th place for Fournier. We'll look over at the team standings as well. As we said, the ACR and ACR Blue 1 and 2 in the standings. ACR, basically, they've won it. So, fair enough. ACR Blue, though, sort of under pressure from Edge Esports, but I can't really see Edge Esports overtaking them. Burlak is a very, very strong driver, but Daniel Kish, at the moment, he qualified 16th place. I don't think that's going to be strong enough to take that. Same as John Lacey Esports. They're on 100 points at the moment. McGlade D'Alessandro not here. Mohamed Patel starting at the lower end of the top 10, which is actually not really a good position to start in at all, considering you can't run an alternate strategy. You're stuck to starting on the tires you qualify on. So HME or Miller, who are only 5 points behind, might actually overtake them should a good race head the way of Jeffrey Fournier. But Cam, what can we expect strategically around the circuit?
Yes, it's going to be difficult to overtake, as we said. So most drivers are going to have to focus on their strategy, and I think what we're going to see is a lot of the drivers starting in the top 10. They're probably going to be forced into a 2-stop strategy because soft, hard 1-stop is going to be quite difficult. It might be possible, but it's going to be quite difficult. Whereas people who start outside the top 10, if they start on, say, the mediums, they can probably do medium and hard 1-stop. And if the leaders have to do a second pit stop, that might get quite fruity as we get towards the second half of this race, and with them making a second pit stop, they might come in some traffic. So it's only going to be a strategic game. Hopefully there aren't too many DNFs because it is that sort of race with all the wolves. Should be able to have a good race this afternoon. As a competitive race, the quality lap times are actually pretty close considering this track, so expecting a race and mixture between 1 and 2 stops.
Yeah, that's what we like, a good mixture on strategy. We'll get to the grid once we start the formation up. Lukaszek of GoSpeed is the first one to start outside the top 10, have that free tyre compound. It's also important to note that Mitchie Hoyer has taken a grid drop that drops him all the way to the back of the order. And Danny van der Neet will be starting from the pit lane, courtesy of Breaking Park Ferme as well. So obviously not comfortable is van der Neet in that car. So not really working out quite as well as his teammate, who's qualified third.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that sort of track really different team pairings can be split up because it is really a driver's track. Which drive the same car, same setup, same everything. This track really shows what the drivers are like. There is 3 times as many corners as there are for the Monza, for instance. I did the maths, and last time out, Monza had about 500 corners for the whole race. This track has 1,500 corners the whole race. Way more corners, and obviously that is where you gain and lose your time.
Yeah, 23 corners hit 61 times over a 300-kilometer race. So definitely a challenge for a lot of these drivers. That's why we have the best in rFactor 2 in the world among us. Obviously, there's a few interesting things. I did bring up prior to the broadcast that we might not see quite as many DNFs as we expect, because at this level, these drivers understand the risk of a circuit. I take you back to Hockenheim, where we had only 10 finishes of 21. So I think it was 11 or 12 retirements, because people underestimated the circuit. We went into Hungary kind of expecting the same thing. I think we only had 3 retirements because people took their estimation of the circuit and went, this is a much harder circuit. We're obviously going to move over into the race, where we'll find out what will happen. Singapore is a track that can bite, but when you're this good, will it? Preparing yourselves for 61 laps. It's going to bite someone, that's for sure. Just how early?
Yeah, that's probably quite a good point. I mean, drivers come into this track knowing it's difficult, knowing it's tight, and maybe they take a tiny bit more care because of that. This is a lovely man shouts at us. The like turn 1, 2, and 3 are very tight here, so there's always the risk for that. But hopefully, drivers take it sensibly, and we have a nice, clean 61 laps.
Is there such a thing as a sensible first lap, though? That's the question. Mohammed Patel, yeah, I did see that. He's now on the grid. That's odd.
I've never seen someone do that, but he has made it to the grid. So we actually have a start from pits, but now we will today's Singapore.
Yeah, absolutely. Jane Simicic taking pole position. His third pole position under the lights here in Singapore. He's been victorious here twice, looking for a third, looking to take the all-time record of race wins. Peter Burlak, though, looking to take second away from Jane Simicic's teammate in the championship, and starting from second place is a good position for him to start at. Never won at this circuit from second position. No one has ever won from second, that's what I mean. Sander Callas in third, has been on the podium here 12 months ago, starts from third, so obviously a very good track for him. Started from sixth that time. Martin Gosby in fourth with that second position under threat. Hasn't scored a point in either of the previous 2 races, despite looking up for victory in both. Robin Panzar in fifth position ahead of Janis Brakshock. Our pole position man last time out leads Mohammed Patel in seventh, who decided to go for a little bit of an escape run prior to the formation at the beginning. Jordi Zvajas in eighth position leads David Morocek and Jos Araneda to round out the top 10, and those starting on the soft compound tyre. Lukaszek going to be the first to not run that. I think he's on the hard compound. Of course, we'll go through that once the race has begun and see who's running what, but he's starting from 11th position ahead of Luca D'Amelio and Jeffrey Fournier, a man who's very, very good with the alternate strategy. So we'll see if Jeff's got anything for us this afternoon. Podium across the season, and has shown some very good form. Been in the points every round with the exception of one. Yuri Kazdorp in 14th position ahead of Daniel Kish, whilst his teammate qualifies second. He's down in 15th position. Eric Andre starts from 16th ahead of Ricardo Costa. Stephen Michaels leads Mitchie Hoyer after a penalty, and Danny van der Neet will round out a 20-car grid, but starting from the pit lane after Breaking Park Ferme. Now, Jane Simicic is the easy call for a race victory. because he is so strong, so dominant in the races, and potentially he is the favourite for today. But if you were going to go for the man who might take a challenge to him, who are you picking?
I think Petter Burlak, to be honest. If you remember Spa a couple of races ago, I know Michaela overtook him on the final lap, but he still got a podium when he had a spin. If you remember, up in Lake Com, he had a spin with Michi Hoyer and someone else. So he definitely has a good pace over the longer races, and he will always keep trying until the end. I think Petter Burlak can definitely challenge him. I'm not sure about Callas's race pace. He has generally this year been slow in the race. But you can also never out Martin. So yeah, I think one of those Burlak, Simicic, or shouts for today's race. If you
I'm going to call something on the alternate strategy. I'm going to say Jeffrey Fournier might be up for race victory later on this afternoon, should things go his way. Because, of course, on that alternate strategy, it's going to be very hard to overtake. There are 3 DRS zones, though, around this 5.063 kilometre circuit. But with 61 laps, 308 kilometres ahead of them on this Sunday night, we're here in Singapore under the lights. And with 61 laps ahead, the 5 lights are on, and we are underway as Jone Simicic and Petter Burlak translate very well off the front row. Sander Callas as well, just able to hang on from Martin Gosby, who's under attack from Robin Panzar, who makes a bit of a boff on the inside. Yanis Brakshok trying to make something work on Mohamed Patel, but not quite everything. Getting by Jordi Zwayer has been overtaken by David Mrocek in the background. Down up to 8th position is the ACR Blue driver. And that's going to hold off as they head through and onto what would be the first DRS zone later in the race. Jone Simicic trying to clear off into the distance, though, at the front end of the field. Petter Burlak's not really got an answer for him at the moment. Sander Callas as well leads Gosby, Panzar, Patel, Brakshok, Mrocek and Zwyers are going side by side as Lukaszek's trying to get in the mix on the alternate strategy as Jos Arenado's dropped down a position, trying to get around the outside for 10th position and recover. Jeffrey Fournier's also made a decent start. As in the background, we see Yuri Kazdorp and Luca D'Amelio for 13th position going side by side. Yuri Kazdorp's made up a position, having a decent start to his race. Is now the third of the alternate strategy as Jos Arenado's trying to get aggressive to get back inside that top 10. Lukaszek's made a good start though as Jos Arenado, wow, pushing way too hard as we head towards and onto the Anderson Bridge. Down Raffles Boulevard, Jone Simicic leads 7/10 of a second. That's surely going to hold. Petter Burlak's a fairly measured driver, but Jone Simicic has been the most measured all season. Decent start from the top lot. No crazy incidents. And everything's looking pretty smart so far.
Yeah, that was actually quite a nice start. It's good to see 22 drivers getting through those first couple of sectors absolutely cleanly. And it looks like everyone has got through safe, although Andre has dropped to the very back, so maybe there was contact for him because he was up into 16th, 17th place, and he's behind Van Der Neet, who actually had to start from pits, so that's not worked out well for Eric Andre, but Jone Simicic has worked out very well, and he's got a little bit of a gap to Burlak.
Yeah, Danny Van Der Neet's actually done quite a good job to immediately catch up to the back of the train. He started from the pit lane on the soft compound tyre, which is intriguing for a number of factors. Why would you start on the soft compound tyre from the pit lane? Obviously, just trying to make some progress, but already catching up to the back. He's going to struggle to overtake and make any more. Already 12 seconds off the race lead. Off his teammate as well, who's in 3rd position. So not quite the best start for Danny Van Der Neet after starting from the pit lane, but a decent recovery at the moment.
Just having a look on the replay to see what happened. Oh, Ricardo Costa came across Eric Andre. He had to go on the escape road and do a little U-turn, which is why he went to the back, but he is on the back of the train now, and we'll have to see what he could do from there. Not the best start, but he didn't really lose too much time, so he's still in contention some points later on. As we know, this race can be for attrition.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's more of an endurance race in comparison to some of the other ones across the season. By the way, Jos Arenado returned serve and got by Lukaszek, so it's now the top 10 back on the soft compound tyre. He did that by setting the fastest first sector as well, so a bit of slipstream aiding the ground effect car. Just as a bit of a reference, obviously you can see it on the tower on that left-hand side. Anyone with a yellow compound tyre, i.e. the top 10 and Danny Van Der Neet are on the soft compound tyre. 11th to 17th are all on the hard compound tyre. That's the orange band. And then there are a couple of drivers a bit further back, Stephen Michaels and Eric Andre, on the white banded medium tyre, which I think we'll see some of the top lot using later in the afternoon, as they may have to two-stop. Sander Kaya is actually doing a really good job to hold firm with the top lot. No one's really getting away from anyone at the moment. We've seen this a few times this season, maybe through a little bit of fuel conservation and the likes. The top guy doesn't really run away until after that first pit stop.
Yeah, for some reason it just is the way it's worked out this season. Everyone seems to keep it fairly calm in this first stint, and then it's after the pit stop that everything gets a little bit crazy.
We love that craziness. That's where things really kick off. So expect things to go a little bit haywire before the end of this race. Don't you worry. One of the craziest circuits that we race on all year. But what are these drivers all going to make of it? Balancing their way over the Anderson Bridge once again. It's one of the trickiest complex of corners on the circuit. We've seen throughout the day. I remember Kean White earlier in the previous race, I think it was the Academy race. Pro. There we go. Gets across the Anderson Bridge, and effectively it just looked like he just understeered straight into the wall. I think you called it as he put on too much lock, which I would also call it as the same thing. Too much lock into the wall, lost his front end. Very easy to do. Just a lapse of concentration. As much as all these corners are different, a lot of them look kind of the same when you get into it, and it's bizarre to think that you would forget where you were on the circuit, but it is possible. I think we've all had it at some point, driving around where you just kind of gone, what corner's next? And that's when you make a mistake.
And that's certainly one thing with this track, is that it's just corner. All the straights are pretty short, and if you lose concentration for a little bit, you will end up in the barrier. It's obviously not to be because the suspension damage can't be repaired. So if you tap the wall in the early phases, your steering wheel will be out of line for the whole race, which generally is your tyre wear as well. So you've got to be careful to not touch those walls. Keep it nice and safe.
Yeah, I struggle to do 61 laps, even not pushing without touching the wall, let alone pushing to my very limit with some world champions behind me. But nevertheless, that's the challenge that these drivers all sign up to at the start of the season. And 2019 has delivered some crazy circuits, some crazy racing. And here we are at probably the peak of the crazy circuits. Martin Gosby keeping in touch in the background, trying to apply pressure onto Sandar Callas. Of course, at this current position that he's in, I think he would be losing second position by a single point to Petter Burlak. So it is important in that championship. I said there was plenty up for grabs. Just because our world champion is leading the way does not mean that there's nothing else up for grabs. Petter Burlak wants to get by so he can secure that second position heading into the next round.
The thing with Petter Burlak is just he's always there. He hasn't had the best season in the world with ACR being so good, but he's just always there. He's just always that next guy to get the good result when ACR have a bit of a mistake or something like that. So he's definitely one of the determined drivers on the. I'm actually getting a bit of a gap form, so that is behind Wojciech Lukasek in P11. Behind him, there's a bit of a gap to Jeffrey Fournier. Obviously, is on the hard tyres as well. So it's only Lukasek who can keep on this top train on those hard tyres. And then behind him, Rikastorp is dropping away a little bit from Jeff Fournier as well. So this keeps going on. That will start to open up a gap for these leaders to think about pitting laps time when these soft tyres go off.
Yeah, they should be going off pretty soon. I will say with Burlak, when you consider how many races Simra's won, I think I went through it earlier in the season. It was 15 at the time. I think it might be about 17 or 18 at the moment. Obviously, I'll check prior to the end of the race. Burlak has 12 race wins and won all the way back in 2013. So he's had a long history of winning in the World Championship. Yet to win this season, though. So, you know, maybe he wants to do it. We'll see if today's his day. His last win came in Brazil last year, topping off the season. He had 4 race victories, all in that final part of the season. I spoke about that in Spa when he won in Belgium, in Italy, in the United States, and in Brazil. However, one interesting thing from that, in that 6-race run at the end of the season where he won 4 of them, one race he was disqualified from due to a tyre infringement. The other race was the Singapore Grand Prix, which he didn't score a single point in.
Yeah, so that was the Singapore Grand Prix last year. We actually had a red flag, and he Patel and Hoyer all crashed in the pit lane, so they had lost some places and DNF'd or whatever, and then there was the red flag, so they had no chance of coming back to get points on that day. So it was actually half points at Singapore last year, which is always an interesting thing to see on the standings when you have half points.
Yeah, Burlak was third in the championship last year. Currently sits third in the championship. Oh, would he like to be one place better? I mean, I'm sure he'd like to be 2 places better, but it's been a few years since that escapade. Currently, Simičić leading the way by 0.7 of a second. Very quickly running through the top 10, which, by the way, is the exact same as it was at the start of the race. No one's actually changed the position yet, as everyone's trying to just balance their way into the Singapore Grand Prix. But Simičić leads Burlak and Callas. Gosby really trying to apply pressure now, as Callas is actually struggling to keep within range. DRS speaking of Petter Burlak, so Gosby might be mounting a challenge to try and keep up with the top 2 anytime soon. Martin Gosby there, yep, 4th position. Robin Panzar in 5th. Patel 6th. Janis Brakšok, after a really impressive round last time out. He had to change tyre strategy last time out. He was pushing very hard at the start of this and was going for a 2-stop race. Then suddenly realised that Simičić and Gosby were not going for a 2-stop race. Had to switch it up. Was so close to taking race victory, but unfortunately just slipped away from him. Partly through his own mistake, but I think the race victory had already gone by that point anyway. Rodger in 8th though, Judis Vyers in 9th, and Jos Araneda rounding out the top 10, so nothing really happening there. One interesting thing I would note is Lukaszek on the alternate strategy, just keeping up with this train, pulling away from Jeffrey Fournier. There's 2 seconds rather between those two. But this alternate strategy, which could be leading to a 1-stop later in this evening's race, could work out quite well for those, should they choose it.
Yeah, Lukaszek's doing well right now, as you said, keeping on this top 10 train. However, last time out, he did have to do a 2-stop. It was a 1-stop back in Monza, and his teammate Brakšok almost won the race. The crash with Gosby. But Lukaszek actually had to do a 2-stop strategy, so I don't know if he's going to be able to make this 1-stop work, but for now he is in a good place, being on the back of that top 10 train, so they're just dragging him along with the DRS, and once they pit he will be able to be released and set some pretty consistent laps.
Yeah, the idea of pulling away from the likes of Fournier on that alternate strategy maybe indicates maybe a higher use of tyre wear. By the way, we've just had our first retirement from the Singapore Grand Prix. Luca D'Amelio, 6 laps into the race, drops out of the Grand Prix. Going
to have a look at what happened. So we are coming down into turn 8. Is generally seconds, so I assume it's at the next corner. Disco disconnected actually, so he is now out of this race, which is a shame because he was in a good position, especially just for a reserve driver. He's having a bit of fun, as unfortunately Kirill Burakov is having some issues with his VR headset, so Victus needed a driver, and Elio, who got pole position in the pro race, certainly a fast driver, and unfortunately it hasn't worked out for him.
That's kind of like the joy of having categories where they're all kind of the same car. You can jump in and you already know roughly what pace you should be doing. Of course, heading into the World Championship, you've really got to step it up. Was doing a decent job. Of course, that's sometimes what happens. You just have those technical issues. It is what it is, isn't it? We've all had it. A disconnection, a wheel failure. I was doing it was on a rally game. I had my pedal fall off midway through a rally stage, which really woke me up.
Sure, that would. Brake pedals are one of those things that you got to have a lot of confidence in. And I mean, even Mark Hutchinson, saying before the race, he was having some issues with his brake pedal, so he wasn't sure how it was going to go, but managed to have a good pro race. But yeah, the brake pedal is one of those pedals you've got to have a lot of confidence on it. You've got to be able to stop the car and not lock up, because obviously these cars have no assists at all. in the World Championship, you don't even have toe clutch or any which we have in the series. So it's all about the driver and what they can do with their 2 hands and 2 feet.
And their brain.
Well,
Don't forget that. Very important.
So that is the
a lot of people
important
forget that
part.
one.
That is the important.
Currently, the top 10 really remaining in that train. Actually, top 11. Lukajek still very much involved in this. 6.6 seconds separating the top 11. No one pulling away from anyone. So this is kind of a reminder of what it has been over the previous few rounds. Everyone's pretty content at the moment with just continuing in their current position, not having a desperate lunge. Sandar Kallas did pull up back to Petar Burlak, so very much under control for Jene Simoncic at the moment.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I mean, it's only a couple of seconds, but Fournier is dropping off a little bit. And he was one of the drivers who we were obviously expecting on that alternate strategy to be good. However, maybe he's just conserving his tyres, because we are expecting him to do a one-stop strategy where he started just like he did Paul Ricard, where he started, I think, 11 or P12 on that day, and he made the alternate strategy work, getting a podium, and he very well do the same today. He's dropped off a little bit, so all I can assume is that he is saving tyres for now.
Yeah, with how difficult it is to overtake at this circuit, this could work out very well for the Frenchman should things go his way. But he is under a bit of pressure from the Dutchman of Yuri Kasdorp. These two very well experienced in sim racing. Kasdorp's got a lot of experience on the endurance side of things. Robin Panzar's the first to bite, by the way, into the pit lane. Drops down to the bottom end of the top 10.
Strange. He's normally the person to go the longest, but he's obviously trying the undercut. He's gone on the hard compound tyre. I mean, it's kind of the only sort of real option, because we've only done 10 laps. We've still got 51 laps to go. It's going to be probably too much for the hard tyres, but we're able to get the undercut now.
26 and 26.
Yep. Or maybe stay out even longer. Soft tyres at the end.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it works out, but he's getting the undercut. He's completely on his own.
Which is good for him, yeah, absolutely. Can do whatever he wants
Geordie's
to do.
round. Geordie's is round. Let's quickly see what happened. Oh, it's on his own. Coming round turn 7. On the inside curb, lost the rear. Did he hit the wall? No. Just missed the wall. Managed to rejoin
Just behind his
reasonably.
teammate.
And yeah, no contact, but he is now down to P12, unfortunately for him. This is his first race in the World Championship. He drove for IDOS in 2017, flag to flag last year in the Pro Championship. And this is his first race as a reserve in the WC. So,
yeah, showed some very good pace.
Good showing. Yeah, good showing so far.
Of course, the pressure of a circular, it's like I said, it's very claustrophobic. You've got the walls either side of you and nothing really in between. Very similar to a lot of the modern street circuits, the likes of Baku or even, obviously, the legendary Monte Carlo. You just don't have room to breathe, particularly around here because it's nighttime as well. It's a very bizarre experience racing around here, and something that not a lot of people ever really get in their sim racing career, to race on a circuit like this in conditions like this. Danny van der Neet from the pit lane returns to it to make his first stop of this evening's running. He'll drop down to last position as Robin Panzar, just flying around by himself at the back end of the field, has set a personal best in the second sector.
Overtake here. We got Janos Brakshock going around the... Oh, couldn't quite get his nose there, but he was looking to overtake Mohammed Patel. There's a little... The gaps are starting to form now. Getting to the end of the stint, tyres are going off, and this is where we see a little bit of action happening. And Jene Simoncic and Balaka pulling away a little bit, and we're sort of opening up to little groups. So we've got Balak and Simoncic, then behind them we've got Sander and Martin Gosby, and behind them we've got another little group of Tel and Brakshock. So they're sort of splitting up now as the tyres go off and the different drivers to feel out where they are, but we're already on lap 11, so I wouldn't be surprised if saw drivers come in next sort of 2 to 3 laps.
Yeah, Simoncic, that shows. So this is the kind of driver that he is. He's been conserving all the way through this stint. Just set a 40.5 on the previous lap. Isn't setting purple sectors on this one, however, is still pulling away. Petar Burlak did a 40.7 The next car behind it, a 41.7. So those two really gap the rest of the field. But on
Gosby's
this
in.
lap,
Gosby
Berlak's not
is
been able to
in.
keep up. Yeah, Gosby into the pit
Getting
lane.
the undercut on, or trying to get the undercut on Sander Callas anyway. Because the field's still quite close together, he should come out in clean air. But this will be interesting to see where Robin Panzer is.
Rodger and Aranade are in as well.
Yeah, I think
So
this is
a few drivers biting.
this is really where the is opening. But see where Robin Panzer is going to come out in relation to Martin Gosby to see how big that undercut was.
So that's a
Panzer going to be
40.8.
close. And yes, Panzer is going to be very close with Martin Gosby. In fact, he's probably going to overtake him here. So this is showing that the undercut does have some work.
Lifts out.
Yeah.
Team orders.
Well,
not really.
Just being smart, really. He knows Gosby's probably and doesn't need to hold him. But that is the undercut. So Robin Panzer is going to possibly jump a few positions here. However, he did stop a bit early, so his tyres will drop off a lot quicker.
Yeah, Panzer set a 40.8 on the previous lap in comparison to Yannick Simicic's 40.9, fast lap of the race of 40.5. The top two have really cleared off from Sander Callas. Sander Callas not able to respond. Peter Berlak has responded in the first two sectors to close back into Simicic, who I think was testing Berlak there to see what do you have, and showing that he actually probably has a quicker car by quite a bit, as Yannick Simicic. Pulled away, obviously, quite a bit over the last couple of laps. It went to over a second. Now let that come back in, maybe a little bit through tyres. Comes into the pit lane late. Berlak's going to stay out, though.
Yes.
Sander Callas pits. Mohamed Patel doesn't.
This is obviously the undercut for Yannick Simicic, but now let's see what Peter Berlak can do. He's obviously going to do the opposite now. He's going to try and have fresher tyres at the end next stint. To make this in-lap work.
Well, that's if he's on an in-lap. I mean, with a man of... we've spoken about his tyre ability before. We saw that back in Spa. Maybe he might go a few laps later and try something different.
Simicic is going to have a bit of traffic. They're actually a couple of seconds up the road, but he's got the two flag cars ahead of him. So if he catches them up...
Callas and Gosby on the exit of pit lane. Callas now under massive pressure from Martin Gosby trying to get by. And I think this time he might have it heading onto the inside of the third. Oh, a bit of contact between the two. They're going to have a run out. But Sander Callas is probably going to get a DRS here. Oh, no, it's Martin Gosby with a DRS. Well, that's a bit of a shock. That gives him...
Hanzar's getting involved as well. Coming round the outside. But Gosby actually sort of blocked him a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't quite see from this angle. Has he still got a rear wing? Yes, he has. That was going to be very close. Let's get a replay of this. So Martin Gosby is completely ahead, and I think Callas is actually trying to defend. Breaks late to defend from Panzer, and he does hit the barrier, so he's lucky to keep his rear wing. And that has dropped him a few positions. So he's no longer in a net sort of second place. He's going to be a little bit further behind now.
Yeah, that was. I think when you're trying to defend like that, he just accidentally threw a lunge more than anything else, as you say, like on the inside of Martin Gosby. Gosby was not expecting it either. Went for the apex contact, wheel-to-wheel contact. I think realistically, as well, Sander Callas was probably missing the corner at that rate of knots that he was coming in. So not the best for him. By the way, Peter Berlak did stay out again.
Everyone has actually. So I think is this ACR being not the best on tyre wear? Because normally they have the best wear, but now Simicic is catching that traffic that I was talking about. So this could play into the hands of Peter Berlak. Can stay out for as long as he can and try and not get caught in this traffic.
Yeah, this is where we were saying that strategy was going to play a large part in the Singapore Grand Prix. And so far, showing so. When Peter Berlak does eventually pit, he will come out behind Yannick Simicic. Probably still at the moment in front of Martin Gosby, but not very much in front. Peter Berlak on the last lap set a 41.4. Yannick Simicic on the last lap. Is that lap? Never mind, ignore that. Gosby set a 42.5.
Yeah, I think this might work out for Berlak, but even if Berlak undercuts Simicic, the only road ahead of Simicic is in this traffic.
So he's going to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, so if he can get in front of, say, two of these cars and put two cars in between Simicic, these cars are going to be going for at least another 10 laps or so, maybe even more. So this could work out in his favour if he can work his way through the traffic. We are already on lap 14, so I would be surprised if they go too much longer because the soft tyres are going to start going off massively. His pace still looks alright, and yeah, he stays out. Is he trying? Stop.
I think Burlak, even if he's trying to two-stop, I think I know what he might be trying to do, because I'm assuming at this point, and I can tell you on the timings that this is correct, that Burlak is quicker, although not by much in that previous lap, than the likes of Stephen Michaels, than the likes of an Eric Andre. Now, the thing is, this track, Janis Brakshock, by the way, into the pit lane, as this lap is quite difficult, track's quite difficult to overtake on, whilst Gianni Simic is going to lose time whilst trying to get through this, what Peter Burlak's trying to do is he's just trying to outpace, realistically at the moment, he's just trying to outpace Daniel Kish, his teammate, who can control things, and so that hopefully Peter Burlak can come out in front of Daniel Kish.
Yeah, and that will have a massive time advantage as well, because Simic will be stuck behind these guys. Very difficult to overtake, although he's going to be having a look at Stephen Michaels here, who's also got DRS, but looks like, oh no, he didn't quite go for that one in the end. But looks like that ACR does have half decent top speed. Steve almost hits the wall, but no contact is made, and Simic is through. So that's one car out of the way for Simic.
But one of quite a few, and these ones are going to be harder to overtake. It's going to get harder the closer he gets to the front, particularly once he gets to P7 and on the back of Daniel Kish, the Hungarian, currently in that sixth position, of course, teammate to Peter Burlak. And whilst Burlak's setting those times at the front, this could really be hurting. So once he comes into the pit lane, we have no idea what order they'll be in. At the moment, I would say it would be Simic ahead of Burlak. In 5 laps' time, not really too sure.
Yeah, Simic was actually quicker on that last lap than Burlak, obviously only by a few seconds, and I think Burlak is in the pit lane. Yes, he is. So, where will the 2015 World Champion come out against the 2019 World Champion? We have the car behind, which is Mohamed
2017
Patel.
World Champion.
Yes. World Champions are fighting against each other here. Will he be held up by Patel? No, he won't. Okay, so where is Simic? There he is round the final corner.
Yeah, Simic is going to be ahead, but not by much.
Can Burlak get Stephen Michaels? This is the question. It's going to be very close. No, he can't. Okay, so this isn't the worst thing in the world. He's about a second or so further behind Simic, but he have fresher tyres.
And we'll close up the traffic, yeah.
On the harder tyres, that isn't so much of an issue because the drop-off isn't as much, but still gives him plenty of opportunities later on in the race.
Battle for second as Jeffrey Fournier and Yuri Kazdorp going side by side. Kazdorp gets that one done and up into second position at the moment. They're 5.5 seconds off of Lukaszek, who we believe will be two-stopping, courtesy of his higher tyre wear. Yuri Kazdorp, I'd put a very big question mark on his run this afternoon, on whether he's two-stopping or one-stopping. Jeffrey Fournier, I'm pretty sure we can say with some fairly solid evidence that he'll be one-stopping this afternoon. So some questions being held here. They're currently 4 seconds ahead of that fight for fourth position with Kish, Hoyer, Costa, and Eric Andre and Jenny Simic joining the mix. Stephen Michaels a little bit way off the back of that, now getting under pressure from Peter Burlak, who's being dropped into Martin Gosby, who's made his strategical play work at the moment. And so realistically, at the moment, once everyone's stopped, we've got an ACR leading an Ed, leading an ACR, and another ACR with Robin Panzer realistically fourth of those that have stopped.
Yeah, this traffic is making it quite interesting because Jeff Fournier, as we said, we're assuming he's doing a one-stop, which means he's got one stop left to go, as well as Jani Simic, but he is still ahead of Jani Simic. If Simic can't get past these 4 or 5 cars in between for the rest of this stint, because the likes of Kish, is that Michi Hoyer as well in there, they're going to be going as long as Jeff. So if Jani cannot overtake, that means he's going to have to overtake him legitimately on track, which means Jeff could be in a good place if he can get his pace up.
Stephen Michaels into the pit lane, so Burlak doesn't have to overtake. Nice. That'll be good for him. Potentially good for the race this afternoon. Jani Simic not able to get by. I think Jani will go back to controlling pace at the moment and holding strong on his last lap. He set a 42.2. Obviously, that is not a very, very quick time around here in comparison to ones I've been running earlier on this afternoon. Actually, it's a long way off of pole position as well. Considering we're in the 35s for pole. That extra weight for fuel really slows these cars down, particularly around a track so stop and starty as this one.
Yeah, and also the fixtures as well. a quali boost, which they can't really use in the race for both engine wear and increased fuel consumption issues as well. So it's all the things the drivers have to balance out during the race.
Yeah, of course. So some of the interesting things that we will that are interesting to mention at the moment is tyre wear. Of course, on a heavy fuel, you've got a lot of weight pushing that tyre into the ground, which really doesn't help with tyres. Let's be honest, because when you're trying to turn, particularly the front end, they scrub a lot because they've got so much weight trying to push them through the corner. They've got an extra, in this case, maybe 100 kilos trying to push them through the corner than in qualifying. Of course, once you get to the latter part of the race, obviously there's less fuel in the car, meaning there's less weight in the car, meaning the tyre wear won't be as bad later in the race. So if you're doing that reverse strategy, it will make that alternate strategy even easier to do later in the race to make those tyres work, because you've got less weight to push them through, rather than having to start with 61 laps worth of fuel. You can get onto the soft compounder tyre with, maybe only 15 laps of fuel left.
And that is what Jeff Fournier and anyone else who tries a one-stop, maybe even Kastorp as well, that's what they will be banking on. They will gain a lot of time into the race. They'll be on soft tyres and light, which is always a mixture.
42-2 plays a 41-1 and a 41-1 between Simoncic, Burlak and Gosby respectively. So all things closing up there. The fastest of that lot being Petter Burlak on a 41.129. Panzar really dragging himself back into the mix of 41.2 as well, so very much keeping up with his sister teammate, sort of, Martin Gosby. Burlak really closing into the back of Simoncic as he's not really able to mount a challenge on an Eric Andre. I remind you, Lukaszek out in the lead 6 seconds, again believed to be on a two-stop strategy with the rate of speed that Yuri Kasdorp has picked up and got by. Once he's got by Jeffrey Fournier, I'd kind of assume that he is also on a two-stop strategy, just set his personal best lap, actually. All three in that top three have set their personal best on the previous lap. They set decent laps this time by 41.1 for Lukaszek, 41.6 for Kasdorp, 41.4 for Jeffrey Fournier. On the previous lap, though, Yuri Kasdorp was the quickest. So things interesting time-wise there. They've still got some decent rubber left on that, 20 laps into the race, well, nearly.
Yeah, that's one thing with these hard tyres. And in the back, we got Simoncic going past and Eric Andre. So this is second car he's got through, but has taken him quite a few laps. That is good because Petter Burlak is coming up behind, and he's now put a car in between them. But yes, the thing with the hard tyres is they're so consistent. You do get quicker because the rates of the tyre wearing is less than fuel. So once you get rid of all that fuel, you go quicker and quicker and quicker. Whereas on other tyres, they drop off before fuel level reduces that much. So this is why the alternate strategy drivers are still being competitive at this point in the race.
It's realistically, they're actually closing up those top three, because Jeffrey Fournier is actually the fastest of them through this part of the lap. Through the first and second sector, he's gained a good few tenths on those ahead. Daniel Kirsch as well, we can't really forget about him. He's on a 42.0 behind, so setting fairly similar times. Of course, already 11 seconds off of the race lead, leading Michi Hoyer, who had to start from the back of the grid after a penalty, and Ricardo Costa, who has shown some good pace, but I think realistically it's been fairly inconsistent over 2019.
Andre comes in the pit lane, which releases Petter
Burlak
Burlak.
again.
So yeah, Burlak has had a good time with traffic.
Are you a fan of Petter Burlak? Because it's both your drivers getting out of the way just as he's catching them.
I mean, that is obviously just the strategy that Eneric has chosen to do. 20 laps. He's got 41 on those hard tyres. Bit tight. So we'll have to see what he can do regarding the one stop. But yeah, back to this effectively battle for the lead. Gosby is right in the DRS with Panzar as well. So they are all going to be putting pressure on Yerny Simoncic over the next few laps. Simoncic still has to get rid of this traffic in front of him.
I think Gosby will be pretty content with leaving Burlak there. Of course, teammates, but no team orders for the ACR boys. So Gosby will want Burlak to catch. We'll just kind of like leave him to it. Won't fight him too hard to try and close that gap up to potentially contend for a victory himself this evening. Into that brand new third DRS zone. Of course, not really close up. You can use this time to save fuel, so you can use it later in the afternoon. Of course, around here, the engine temperature becomes very, very critical. It's a very hot circuit anyway. We're currently running ambient temperature of 29 degrees. How much has been previously this season? If it's locked to that,
So it's the same.
it is locked to that. Yeah, I thought so. We'll go for this we'll spice it up. It's fine. It's hot here. We'll go with that. The thing is, with it being such a long race and such a slow speed race, you don't get much air through the car, which that means that using those higher mixers, of course, they increase your temperature. But a circuit like Monza, for example, you can kind of run in a higher mix mode for longer because the speed you're going cools the engine down quite a bit more through the intakes. So around a smaller circuit like this, where you don't really get up to those rapid speeds, you're not getting as much air into the car. So you can't really, despite fuel saving, you can't really afford to run in those higher modes thanks to the engine wear.
Yeah, it's also one of those things you might as well have a couple clicks bigger radiator, because it doesn't lose you that much lap time in extra drag and loss of downforce. It's not that big, so for the sake of finishing the race, you might as well have a couple clicks extra. However, it is funny how that works out, because you actually gain heat from accelerating as well. There's obviously the heat of combustion. It's only when you get to the fast speeds that you actually start cooling down on the straights. So as you say, get to the long straights, that is when you down the car. But there aren't any straights here, unfortunately.
Nope, we're definitely going to see an engine or two go pop at some point this evening for sure.
And
so
brakes
as well. It's very tough on brakes. You're absolutely right.
Exact same thing. If they start overheating, it will start wearing a lot more. And there is a brake disc failure thickness. That's a hard thing to say. So when they wear so much, they'll get so thin that they will actually wear. And this is pretty much the only track on the calendar where that is possible due to the amount of braking zones. Ansar just knocked the wall there. That's something you don't want to do with 40 laps to go. You don't want 40 laps of a suspension.
Car's still tracking straight though. So no worries, but maybe a bit of a wake-up call for Robin Panzer. Of course, sat behind the car, not only are you picking up more temperature, you're picking up dirty air, which is scrubbing the tyres more, yada, yada, yada. We've been through this about 1,000 times this season. Around a circuit like this, though, that extra tyre wear, that extra thermal degradation, that extra understeer in the car, it won't push you off into some gravel trap or some grassy area. What it'll do is it'll push you into a wall and potentially out of the Singapore Grand Prix.
We got Darren Mocek, going down the inside of Mohammed Patel. This is for currently P11, but obviously once some pit stops sorted out, it might be sort of the middle part of the points. And this is actually quite a good scrap. Got Braxock and Araneda behind them as well. Quite a good scrap, but Patel, overtaken. Sole remaining John Lacey, because I don't think we actually mentioned Michele D'Alessandro did show up. His broke in qualifying, so he wasn't able to participate in the race. It's just Mohammed Patel flying the flag. See today.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this prior to the broadcast, that some of the things that's gone wrong for that team have been maybe in their own hands. But that team has had a lot of bad luck in 2019, so things are really not going the way for the John Lacey squad. They are still fourth in the championship at present in the teams, courtesy of a couple of podiums from Michele D'Alessandro. But realistically, from the fifth round on, they've only scored points on one occasion, and that was a podium in Spa. So they've really struggled to get points on the board, and now under serious threat from HME or Miller, who, of course, through strategy at the moment, are currently running third and sixth and are well outscoring the non-point scorer of Mohammed Patel. So that fifth under serious pressure, or fourth rather, under a lot of pressure in the team standing. So not done yet. Lukaszek's lead, though, coming a little bit, not under threat, but it is coming down a little bit. He's dropped a little bit over the last few laps. I think it might have been through a mistake. Yuri Kasdorp has set his personal best lap on the previous one, a 41.1. to beat Lukaszek's 41.3. So closing up a little bit. It's come down a second since the last time I saw it, as Jeffrey Fournier may be struggling a little bit on his tyres, is slowly dropping back.
Is falling back away from Yuri Kasdorp, so we were sort of hyping Jeff up for the strategy, but we'll have to see how it works out. Good thing for him is that he's still quite a way ahead of Jene Simoncic and co, but what we say are the net leaders. But if Jeff is one-stopping, this puts him in a really good position towards the end of this race, but he's going to need to go at least another 10 to 15 laps to make that work.
Yeah, because he could go onto the medium tyre a bit later. Oh, out wide was Ricardo Costa ahead of Jene Simoncic. Nearly clipped the wall, realistically, at the exit of the 23rd and final corner. They've hit those 23 times. So they're starting to probably exhaust themselves a little bit, have a little bit of double vision, seeing these corners again and again and again. They come round at such a rapid rate. But these guys have done so much practice, and around a circuit like this, you definitely need it. Simoncic still not under pressure from Burlak, though, which I find intriguing that Burlak's not been able to catch up. Burlak's kind of lapping around the same kind of times. 41.2 for Burlak, 41.3 for Simoncic. Not able to close up. I don't know if it's because he's not concerned or if it's because he's conserving. Bear in mind that Petter Burlak went longer over the last stint than most of the other front runners at the time on the soft compound tyres, so has a little bit more percent in hand now that Simoncic is really getting balked by Ricardo Costa, Michi Hoyer and Daniel Kish ahead.
Yeah, I think that's just the consistency of the hard tyres, because Simoncic isn't really getting held up too much. I'm sure he would be able to go quicker. I don't think he's being held up that much that he's been slowed down to a point where Burlak is just allowed to catch up. I think they've still got some pretty decent speed in these hard tyres. Such is their consistency, as we saw back in China, which is the only other race that we saw these hard compound tyres. Simoncic managed to do a one-stop strategy on that day and beat Michele D'Alessandro to the win.
Yeah, the one-stop victorious there. Could it be victorious this afternoon as well? Who is going to be on a one-stop strategy? Is Jene Simoncic? Maybe not with it. Oh, Sana Callas out of the race. Engine failure. So we're going to see at least one go pop. And there's our first 23 laps in.
It's crazy. Not even half the race. So he must be using a lot of that quali boost, I would assume. But yeah, that's not the smartest thing to do around this track. Is Simoncic close enough here? No, not quite. As long as Ricardo stays in that DRS of Michi Hoyer, he should be safe. Yeah, the threat of Jene Simoncic, it seems, although Burlak is now starting to close that gap a little bit, so Simoncic might want to think about an overtake.
One of the smartest men on the grid, Jene Simoncic, being attacked by, realistically, the other smartest man on the grid, Burlak. When it comes to maturity of race strategy, these two really do have it. Two world champions, potentially dossing it out for victory. That's only if Simoncic really can't get by. It's going to be a very intriguing final 36 laps to proceedings. Once again, talking of Jeffrey Fournier, he's really dropping back into to Daniel Kish now. Only a second, or a couple of seconds, really separates them. He was nearly 5 ahead of Daniel Kish at one point. Kind of struggling a little bit, maybe just trying to conserve his tyres, potentially a little bit too much. It's very easy to speak now. Obviously, these guys will be on a set strategy. I can't tell you how much practice they will be doing. They obviously know what kind of pace they're running, what pace they need to run. As Daniel Kish, Michi Hoyer and Ricardo Costa all set personal best laps over the previous 5 and a bit kilometres of this Marina Bay Grand Prix. A couple of tenths quicker than those in front. Yuri Kasdorp and Lukaszek, both setting 41.2s, are actually quicker than most of those behind. So pulling away a little bit.
Burlak was actually defending a little bit from Martin Gosby, who's now really close as the pair or trio even involving Panzer are slowly catching up to the back of this Daniel Kish train.
Yeah, Gosby's waiting. Gosby is waiting. The thing is, let's not forget that no one. This sounds stupid because obviously they are on a limit. But the likes of Simoncic, Burlak, Gosby, even Panzer, they're not on the limit of the car. It's not the same as it was in the actual Singapore Grand Prix in Formula One, right? We're not at that level of ridiculous. This is pretty stupid. But they're not using the high mix modes. They're not pushing the car to the very limit because at this point, as far as Burlak's concerned, he can still see Simoncic, so he's not that concerned at the moment. He can see what is ahead of Simoncic. Simoncic can kind of see that Burlak's a decent way behind him, so not really too worried at the moment, and he knows that there's a bigger picture to play. Gosby, again, he can still see his teammate just a little bit down the road, so no worries at the moment for these boys. So they're just controlling things at the moment, but after that second stop, and once they've cleared a lot of this traffic, we're going to see this thing really light up.
Yes, something that is quite interesting to note is Kasdorp is closing in on Lukaszek by a couple of seconds over the last few laps, and Fournier has really dropped off. Kish is getting very close. He's close in that position where you get that bit of extra motivation when you see a car ahead of you. That is how close Daniel Kish is to Jeff Fournier. It is dropping off a little bit. To make a one-stop work, he's going to need to go even further. We're not just under half distance. See, the mediums won't last as long as these hard tyres that he's on now.
Yeah, he dropped into the 42s in the previous lap, did the Frenchman, and in that first sector it's not looking super duper strong either. I think Lukaszek also made a mistake because he lost 0.3 in that sector. Oh, Yuri Kasdorp lost half a second in the second sector though, so maybe not the best one for those.
I think if Lukaszek can do a one stop, he's in a very good position right now. Because the leaders have not caught him up at all.
Yeah, could this be Ghostspeed's realistic best opportunity for a race victory? They were really up for it last time out in Monza. Things did not really play out into their favour, but this time it might look so. The thing is, you've got to remember with race victories, we've had 10 races this season, and 10 race victories have all gone the way of ACR in 2019, so we must not forget that. 8 have gone to Jane Simoncic, 2 have gone to Martin Gosby. Currently, those two are running 7th and 9th, of course, out of sequence on strategy to various other drivers. Peter Burlak trying to put Simoncic under pressure. Potentially alternate strategies heading the way of Lukaszek, Kasdorp, Fournier. Whether today is the day that duck is broken, not really too sure. But it's looking positive for some.
Yeah, certainly looking promising. It's just the fact that he's got such a big gap. I mean, you can see on the minimap on the bottom right, he's coming into the hairpin, and the leaders are only coming down to Singapore Sling. It's got a massive gap. So, certainly looking promising, but this is assuming it's a one-stop. If he's making 2 stops, then that will be a bit more difficult for him. But he's got the track position. Track position is king. Street circuits.
And that's dependent on what Simoncic is running strategic. From a strategic basis, I don't think he's going to the end from this point in the race. Surely not.
They pit it at what, like 10 or 11, wasn't it? They pit, so yeah, that'll be 50 laps to the end. So you'd have to do. I don't know. It's just one of the things whether it's possible and whether it's possible at a good pace, because you'd have to do barely any rear tyre wear, because it's the rears that you really have to worry about. I guess he isn't really pushing too much being stuck behind the traffic. But yeah, it's certainly a long shot.
It is a long shot. I mean, it's all well and good dreaming, but I think you're quite right. Like most of these things, like when it comes to tyre strategy, anything's possible in a sense of getting distance. Like you can take the super duper soft tyre and get it to the end of this Grand Prix. However, it won't be very quick, because you'd have to look after it all the time. You'd have to nurse it around every single corner. And so it's just not that quick. It is possible, mind, but you know, someone might be brave enough to try. And if there's anyone to try, Yannis Simčić is one. Daniel Kish, by the way, now within DRS range of Jeffrey Fournier, who's really dropped back. So unless Fournier is desperately confident in his strategy that he is on the right one to do a one-stop, I think that car might be struggling. Sorry, I think Jordi Zavai's got by Danny Van Der Neat on the previous corner. That was what I saw flick around, down in 15th position. Many factors at play here under the lights in Singapore. Plenty of drivers have stopped. The top 6 are yet to. But when is that first stop coming? It's not this time by for Lukaszek. He stays out to complete his 29th lap and continues a lead of now 6 seconds, I believe it'll be once they cross this sector. 5.5 for Yuri Kasdorp. So, yeah, things are looking good for Lukaszek and for Ghost Speed at the moment. They've had a good run previously. We bring this up almost every round about how they're probably waiting for that victory in 2019. They've looked super strong. Janis Brakshock had a spin earlier in the race, so he's down in 12th position, so things not really working out on the Ghost Speed's part for him. 21.3 seconds off of the lead that he had a few weeks ago.
Yeah, sorry, just when we talk about Andre and Danny Van Der Neat, and Eric Engine. Just had a quick look up what that was about. And now we've got Simčić fighting Costa, and the reason why he has to do this is because Berlak is now right behind him. So this is crunch time. It's taken about 20 laps, but this is the crunch time for Yannis Simčić. Berlak has now caught him and is now stuck because Ricardo Costa, a few others are ahead. So this could be a make or break point for Simčić in this Singapore.
We're approaching half distance and you can hear the whistle going on the kettle. It's officially boiling point. Simčić now on the back of Costa, who's not going to have DRS because he's dropped off the back of Michi Hoyer. By the way, the fastest man on circuit at the moment, I think actually was Daniel Kish. He's now really closing in on Jeffrey Fournier. There's only half a second between those two. Kish is actually closing in on Lukaszek of all people now that he's in that DRS range. We'll see if he can get by swiftly. But yeah, Yannis Simčić now under pressure from the Croatian of Petar Berlak, who's actually dropped off a little bit over the last few corners. Maybe wasn't too happy sitting right on the rear end. Robin Panzar into the pit lane for his second stop on the hard tyres this early. Excuse me.
So he only got 21 laps. Or no, just 20 laps because he was the first one to pit. So 20 laps got. So if he's pit early, then he's got to do 30 laps. I assume it's just strategy.
I think it is strategy.
Undercut. Simčić has now got in a position to overtake Ricardo Costa. And Costa, I think, has sort of let him go there. Didn't bother fighting it too much. He knows they're on different strategies. No point losing time fighting. But that's good for Simčić. He's now got a car in between him and Petar Berlak.
I think that might work out for Robin Panzar. You never know. We know how hard this track is to overtake at. And if he goes the full 30 laps to the end of the Grand Prix, that may work out in his favour. The first man to make the first stop is the first man to make the second as well. Now down in 16th position ahead of only Stephen Michaels, 35 seconds off of the race lead at the moment. We look towards the front of the field to say Lukaszek and Kasdorp, they're miles ahead. We'll ignore them for the moment. Jeffrey Fournier under pressure from Kish and Hoyer, who are both yet to stop, who will now be under pressure from Yannis Simčić. Those third to fifth battle were separated by 1 second. Again, Michi Hoyer had to start from the back of the grid, doing a really good job to close into this potential podium battle. Lukaszek stays out again, as does Kasdorp. Do any of the other three bite and come down pit lane? Does Ricardo Costa make it another person that Petar Berlak doesn't have to overtake? No, he doesn't. He stays out. .5 seconds off the lead, Petar Berlak. He can still see Yannis Simčić, so will he go for a desperate move? I doubt it. He's not the kind that does that. Mohamed Patel. Oh, Jos Araneda and Janis Brakshock have gone off at T1. We'll have to have a look at what happened there.
Yeah, let's grab a from point of view of Jos Araneda. So he is coming down the main straight. And what happened here? Oh, the ghost speed. Brackshock had a lag spike.
Yeah, I saw that.
He just slightly stuttered, and Jos hit him. They haven't lost too much time, but there might be some suspension damage involved there. So that is not ideal.
Yeah, and whilst we were looking at the replay, 7th position now heads the way of Petter Burlak. A nice move outside the DRS of Ricardo Costa. Tried making it work around the outside of the hairpin of turn 7. Didn't quite work out, and Petter Burlak manages to grab 7th position, but has lost a second and a bit to Jerne Simoncic. This lot, again, they're actually... Jeffrey Fournier has closed in a decent amount on the previous lap to the top 2. So, once again, it is all closing up. This race just seems to ebb and flow, and no one seems to be on the right strategy so far. We'll obviously find out in 30 laps' time as to who is. Surely these lot are all staying out. I think Lukaszek is on a one-stop, considering the distance that he's going at the moment.
Yes, looking good. We did doubt it to start with, but looks like he's making it work. And we are pretty convinced Simoncic needs to stop again as well. So this could be the day Ghost Speed to have a result.
They led a lot as David Mrocek comes into the pit lane. They led a lot back in the Italian Grand Prix a few weeks ago. And they appear to be leading a lot at the moment. But can they convert today? Can today be the day from the driver that we didn't really expect it to come from? Janis Brakshock has showed so much form in the recent past. I did not expect this to be coming from Lukaszek. But it appears that it may well be, and their best hope for a victory in 2019's World Championship comes in the hands of Lukaszek, 5.4 seconds ahead of Yuri Kazdorp.
Yeah, this is looking oh so tasty for the second half of the race. We did say in the warm-up session that it was not necessarily going to be about overtaking, it was going to be about strategy. Having said that, Simoncic is going to be going around the outside of Michi Hoyer. Michi Hoyer's broken late. Michi Hoyer's actually made contact with Simoncic. Simoncic lost his front wing. He's lost his front wing. This is absolute game-changing for the race, because Simoncic is going to have to make a pit stop, and he's going to have to try and make these tyres go to the end.
Going to slow Burlak down. Surely he's not going to race him. He is going. Oh, he's not. There we go. Simoncic lets Burlak through. He's not going to let Ricardo Costa through straight away, though. Oh, it's so. Oh, Ricardo Costa spun on the curb. Ricardo Costa spun. That's let Martin Gosby through, which actually.
Oh, he spun again. He spun again. He obviously overheated the rear tyres at the first spin, and he spun a second time. So this is going to change the aspect of this race quite a lot. This has put Jerne Simoncic sort of out of contention. However, it might be a blessing, because he's going to get an undercut, and he's going to be on those hard tyres, I would assume, to the end. He would have lost a couple of seconds from that, but this may not be the end of the world, but it's certainly not ideal either, because he is going to be behind this train of cars that includes his teammate Robin Panzer, and his stop's going to be long. He needs a new wing. So I'm going to get a replay of this, because it looked like Hoyer just outbroke himself into the hairpin, and unfortunately it's something that we've seen before, and it looks like, yeah, he just goes a little bit wide. Yeah, he almost hits the wall as well. He almost hits the wall as well, and obviously Simoncic just had no room to go, so we've now cut back live. So where is Jerne Simoncic? Simoncic is now overtaking his teammate in P16. When was the last time we saw Simoncic in P16?
Yeah, on strategy, not that low for a long time, if ever. But Simoncic will be pushing hard. We'll get by Jos Araneda pretty quick. I'm sure the red mist will come over him. We're hoping not to make another mistake. If there's anyone quick enough to overcome this, it is our world champion, race victor 8 times a season. But if ACR want to take their 11th race win in a row, it has to either come from the most incredible comeback of Jerne Simicic's career, or Martin Gosby, who is now 2 seconds off the back of Petter Burlak. Potentially the race victory could come that way, but I think there is a lot of people up for race victory. Lukaszek's looking good. Jeffrey Fournier's starting to look strong at this point in the Grand Prix again. I'd say Yuri Kazdorp sort of just matching Lukaszek on pace and just didn't get by Fournier quick enough, and now he's going to come under threat from Fournier again. Kish, maybe not. Hoyer, maybe not again. Then I think Burlak and Gosby are definitely up for race victories for top honour this season, for this race rather. So there's at least 4 of those lot that are up for race victory. What Simoncic will do, I have absolutely no idea. What Robin Panzer will do, let's not forget, should he be on... we think he is definitely going to the end, but with other people stopping and stuff like that, he's trying to get by Jordi Zvias, which he will do here. And gets up into 12th position as long as he's going to try and go around the outside. Oh, that's going to be a good move if he gets the inside for the next corner, though. He's probably not cooked the curb too much, and that should be his position. They're going to be side by side running down towards the Singapore Sling. But Robin Panzer has got the upper hand and up into 12th position. Again, he pitted early to try and make the undercut work, and do you know what? I think he may have actually got out of the damage that cost his teammate. I think he might have got out of that nice and early. And to be fair, I think Panzer is on for a good result this afternoon.
I tell you what, the more this goes on, the more I am putting my money on Wojciech Lukaszek. We are coming towards lap 40, which means he's going to be comfortably on the medium tyres to the end. Yep. So I'm really having my money on Wojciech Lukaszek because Burlak surely has still got to pit. And he is at least about 10 seconds behind Lukaszek.
He went longer than anyone else, though. He went longer than anyone else in the first stop. He went all the way up to lap... I know it's not that all the way to lap 15, though. Then went onto the hard tyre. If there is someone that can do that, it's Burlak.
Yeah, I think... if it's a one stop from Burlak, he is definitely in a good place as well. So we will just have to see what happens over the next few laps.
Contact between Janis Brakshock and Ricardo Costa into the braking zone after the first DRS zone. That was tight. It wasn't anything major. I think Brakshock really just kind of came across Ricardo Costa a little bit there.
Grabbing a replay. So we're coming down through the kink of turn 6, down into the braking zone of turn 7. And yeah, their lines just sort of crossed over a little bit. Luckily, the contact wasn't too bad. So who's going to win this? Who is going to win this, Lewis?
That is a good question. There we go. Daniel Kish, by the way, he's just let his teammate go straight away. He won't be so kind to Martin Gosby directly behind. Burlak up into 4th position now, looking at the back of Jeffrey Fournier, the Frenchman on the alternate strategy, currently running in the 3rd position, 7.2 seconds off of race lead. Yuri Kazdorp into the pit lane, though, for 2nd. Yuri Kazdorp, the first one of this top lot to bite.
So he is going to be going on to the mediums.
Gosby in.
Oh, ACR2 stopping. Okay.
ACR. Oh my goodness me. I think today is the day. Today is the day where I say if they want to win this, he goes onto the hard compound tyre, does Martin Gosby, so he's got a lot of work to do, comes out behind Robin Panzer, his teammate. I said he could be on for a good result this afternoon. He's on the back of Danny Van Der Neet, who started from the pit lane.
Miles behind. He's behind Michaels as well and Hoyer as well. So Gosby has got undercut by, effectively undercut by those couple of drivers as well, because he lost so much time that he's actually come out behind them as well. So this isn't best from Martin Gosby. And as you say, this might be the day that ACR do not win a race in 2019 World Championship.
It happened to McLaren in 1988. The Italian Grand Prix in 1988 was the only one McLaren didn't win in that year. It went the way of Ferrari. And so it seems that the same kind of thing is fitting ACR here at the Singapore Grand Prix. Of course, there is a long way to go, and anything realistically can happen. Martin Gosby reminds you that he was held up a little bit by his teammate when he lost that front wing, courtesy of Michi Hoyer. It's a bit awkward, isn't it? Michi Hoyer and an ACR coming together. Well, I'm sure there's nothing. Let's
Jeff
always
pits.
A fun thing to draw.
Jeff Fournier pits from 2nd place. So this puts Burlak in an absolute clean bit of track. He can do whatever he wants. He has got 22 laps after this one to see what he's going to do on his strategy. Is he going to stay to the end? Is he going to have to make a second pit stop? Either way, he is going to be under some threat from Lukaszek at some point on strategy. See how that plays out.
Yeah, Jeffrey Fournier comes out just ahead of Stephen Michaels behind Jordi Zvias. But also behind Michi Hoyer and Robin Panzar. So those lot have made that one work, of course. We'll see how it unfolds for those lot. Importantly, though, ahead of Gosby and Simoncic.
Wow.
So that shows where ACR at the moment are 14th and 15th.
But that means Jeff is legitimately ahead of Gosby, even though Gosby started 4th and Jeff started 13th.
13th, yeah.
That is crazy how the strategy has worked out in today's Singapore Grand Prix, and it's really sort of how the traffic has held up the leaders as well. So, but yeah, that is what it's all about in the Singapore Grand Prix. Overtaking is very difficult, so you've got to be on the ball and pitting on the right laps. And Gosby goes for a dive bomb on Steve Michaels and has actually made that work because he'll probably get the DRS as well. Although Steve's coming back as well. It's crazy to see Gosby fighting for 14th place legitimately.
That's brave to go around the outside of that corner of all. Well, you saw what happened to your teammate, my friend. He's going to make that one sick. Lukaszek into the pit lane. This is big.
Okay, so where does he come out? He was obviously way up the road of Jeff Fournier. So he is going to out a lot further. So let's see. Who is that car? That is Ricardo Costa. Ricardo Costa comes in the pit.
Where's he coming in comparison to Yuri Kazakov?
He's going to be ahead.
Yeah, way ahead.
Oh.
Lukaszek, this could be fantastic stuff for him. Net 5th at the moment, so a huge gain after starting in 11th place. Oh, but look at that for Yuri Kazakov. He's driven in way too hot. There's a little bit of contact between the two front left end plate. Yuri Kazakov's going to be super racy. He's got up nearly 5 seconds through that pit stop sequence, by the way. So that's the courtesy of clean air for Yuri Kazdorp. He's going to be on DRS range, and this is super important for a potential race victory this afternoon. But nope, not quite close enough. Lukaszek hangs on, and now on slightly fresher rubber.
So this is potentially a battle for the podium because Kish, Patel, and I think Braxton as well, they definitely have to pit. Yeah, so Lukaszek is net second. Kazdorp, he's barely got a point this year. He has barely got a point this year. I think he's got a couple of 10th places. That's it. And he has the opportunity for a podium at the Singapore Grand Prix. That is crazy stuff. But fair play. He is doing a brilliant job today. And it's now down to see what Lukaszek can do and what the 3 drivers of Kish, Patel and Brakshock do.
Yeah, we'll see if Burlak's actually going to the end of the race. 23 laps to go. Or will he make a pit stop and try and make something work? There is so much to tell over the next 22 laps. You cannot leave the Singapore Grand Prix right now. Not with all of this. So much is at stake. Daniel Kish enters the pit lane. So it's no longer an edge 1-2. They had a good day yesterday in other championships. Not the best day they possibly could have. But today in the World Championship, it could be heading the way of Andreas Vortas' team. They've had so much success over previous years across many championships. Have Edge Esports originally were branded as Walters Automotive. They had that rebrand for a real take on esports championships across the world. They've flown out to LAN events. They've been in championships across SimRacing, the real best. That's why they're here in the World Championship. They're not here to cruise about and have a laugh. They're here to win. And things haven't gone quite their way this season. But potentially today is the day for that first victory.
So all Burlak needs to do basically is manage his tyres and get to the end. And the good thing for him is that he's only really racing Lukaszek, and Lukaszek is miles behind. So Burlak can pace himself and make sure he gets through these next 20.5 laps to take race victory here in Singapore. Having said that, there's still 20.5 laps to go. So plenty of stuff still happen, plenty of mistakes, plenty of strategy calls still happen this race.
I did say also, by the way, I'm touching my desk, which is made of wood whilst I'm saying this, so don't jinx me or anything like that. That the retirement rate would be lower here than what we'd expect because people are expecting it, and I think that is really the course of action that has been seen over the previous 40 laps. We've not really seen any big mistakes, with maybe the exception of Josh Arenado, by the way, is out of the race. Don't actually quite know what happened. He went out a few laps ago. Probably a crash there. Potentially that's why it's a suspension failure. Michi Hoyer, by the way, Danny Van Der Neet. Oh, I think he blew out a pit lane. Might have to get a replay of that. I think he came into the pit lane too hot and left the pit lane and rejoined.
Let's get I'm just gonna grab an onboard with Danny Van Der Neet. He is behind Robin Panzer. Let's see. Comes in. Oh yeah, way too hot. Goes over the curb. Yep, that is too far. If taken to the stewards, that will probably be a penalty for Danny Van Der Neet. Came in way too hot, and he comes out in P15. No, 16.
I'll tell you one person who's not messing about at the moment. Janez Simoncic, really trying to close up to the back of this. He's caught to the back of Daniel Kish. He is obviously, no one else would at this point, holder of the fastest lap of the race, a 39.1 a few laps ago. So not pulling any punches is the Slovenian.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to, I guess, show what he's made of now. He's got a few cars to overtake to get back in the points, so I think since Michael's ahead, will probably make another pit stop, and maybe Zwires as well. So there might be a couple of free positions, but even then, to get points today is going to be very difficult for 2019 World Champion.
Yeah, finished on the podium every single race in his championship run to give him that World Championship. But today, if he wants to continue that streak, it seems that he's going to have to do something, well, a champion's drive, let's say that.
He's got 3 more races after this. We got the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. We got the United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas, and then we have the finale in Brazil at Interlagos still to come over the next 6 weeks until we wrap up the championship in November.
Yeah, keep an eye on those dates in 2 weeks' time. As say, we'll be heading to that to the Japanese Grand Prix. One of, I think, a lot of sim racers' favourite circuits. Although I've come across more recently people who don't like Suzuka, and if you don't like Suzuka, tough.
Yeah, that is where Simoncic lost the title last year. He had a collision with, ironically, Michaela's teammate, which gave Michaela the title on that occasion. So it's not been the best place for Simoncic.
But he's already won the title, so it's okay.
But yeah, this year round he has already won the title, so he's just doing these races for fun, ultimately.
I can't believe Lukaszek is in a net
yeah,
second.
so let's do
mental.
Let's do a sit rep. So Petr Bělák pit on, I think, lap 14 it was. So he's going to have to do 45 laps on these hard tyres to get to the end. However, if he does that, he is looking good. And today, Amber Patel is in 2nd place, and I'm not sure, but does he have to stop again? Because he stopped similar to Bělák.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is.
So
where did he stop? Let's have a look. He stopped on same lap as Bělák.
Yeah. So Amber Patel, we haven't really spoken about him, but he's also looking in a good position again if the 2 sister teammates can get to the end. And then behind them we have Janos Brekschok, leading the Go Speed team in a very good position, and Wojciech Lukaszek on the awesome alternate strategy is in P4. And then we got Yuri Kazdot fighting with Robin Panzer, and out of all people, Robin Panzer is leading the ACR team, which is quite a sight because he has been off the pace a couple of races compared to Simoncic and Gosby, but he is leading the ACR train today. And then we've got Michi Hoyer. Michi Hoyer has also made his stop, hasn't he? So Michi Hoyer is looking good as well. And then you have to go all the way down to 10th place to Martin Gosby. Strategy has not worked out at all. Avid Chronic Racing today, likes of Fournier ahead, have done an alternate strategy and got ahead of them.
Yeah, it's one of the circuits which is probably the hardest on the calendar to overtake. On this calendar that we have, it's probably the hardest to overtake on. We don't go to Monte Carlo, thank God. Couldn't deal with that. I mean, it's a very pretty sight. It's always good fun to race, but oh my goodness me, it's just, let's be honest, pretty boring. Come to a circuit like this, though, where strategical options are flying left, right, and centre, and it's a difficult circuit to overtake on, and you have some fireworks, which will be setting off in 18 laps. Not actually in the game, don't worry. So you don't have to prepare your eyes for epilepsy. But presently, I'm going to call it that Burlak and Patel are both going to the end.
I think they must be now. Must be now, surely.
I think Brackshock's got to come into the pit lane.
So let's have a look at the gap. I'm not sure on the exact pit stop, but let's say it's about 20-something seconds. So if Burlak hits, he's going to be around where Mitchy Hoyer is. So that would be effectively sort of about 4th, 5th position. And we just seen, I just saw that Kazdorp just got overtaken by Robin Panzer. So Panzer is now into 5th position. Still a good day from Yuri Kazdorp. The Dutch driver, as I said, I think his best position so far this year has only been 10th place. So that'll be some good points for the Frami Autosport team on their debut season in the World Championship.
ACR appear to have gone full 2015 Mercedes at the Singapore Grand Prix. Just, wow. I mean, Mercedes were pretty much nowhere at that Grand Prix, so it's not really that fair because they were somewhere. But it's not worked out. Simičić now all over the back of Peter Burlak's teammate, down in 12th position, trying to go around the outside. I think he's got a bit of a fear of this corner, though. So he's just kind of like leaving it there, maybe. Oh, there's a bit of contact between the two, though. As Jonas Simičić is now going to try and run a hole around the outside into the first chicanes. More contact, and there we go. He's finally through.
Yeah, that was a bit of argy-bargy. And now Kish almost hits the back of him, yeah. I mean, there isn't any sort of direct issues between these drivers as far as I know, apart from the fact they're just in rival teams. But that was, yeah, a little bit spicy considering they're not even in the points.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure, Jonas Simičić races for Andreas' squad elsewhere, so I'm pretty sure he'll be having a conversation with Andreas after that one, being like, can you just, look after him for a little bit? Well, I'm sure Andreas' response to that will be, "You're not driving for my team in this championship, Sonny Jim. You can fight your own battles." Simičić in threat at the moment of not even scoring a point on this trip to Singapore. As I say, he's had 2 previous pole positions at the circuit. He had a 3rd one today. On the previous 2 occasions, he translated it to a race win. Potentially only translating it to a point in 2019, of the year of his championship. Ooh. I mean, it's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? After you've worked so hard to win a championship, it's done. Now you can enjoy yourself, and then this happens.
I mean, that's just sometimes what happens in racing. And I mean, obviously, it wasn't exactly his fault. By the looks of it, it looked like Mitchy just sort of ran him into the wall effectively. So we'll have to see if anything comes of that after the race, but it won't really change the fact. It just hasn't really been ACR's day either way.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed. The same kind of thing sort of happened in MotoGP's way. Now that Marquez has wrapped up the title, we can enjoy some stuff over there.
Yeah, that is quite incredible what Marquez has done on a side note there.
It is mightily impressive. Stephen Michaels comes into the pit lane. Yeah, you don't dominate at that end of the championship of any sort to that degree. But, yeah, sometimes it does just happen. We see it in Formula 1, we see it in MotoGP, we're seeing it in FSR from ACR and Jonas Simičić. But at the Singapore Grand Prix, there's always a round or two where things don't click. The race just doesn't happen for you. But that's another position that Simičić doesn't have to get by. So now the only man stopping him from getting a point is his teammate Martin Gosby. Jeffrey Fournier on that alternate strategy. We were bigging him up. I was bigging him up prior to the race. Only in 9th at the moment.
Yeah,
looking like he might struggle to score a point.
Yeah, he just didn't have the speed basically. Lukaszek went up the road, and Kazdorp as well. They just went up the road, got away from Fournier, and then Fournier didn't really make up the time that he needed to make it work. But still in P13 at one point, and he's now in P9, so has worked to some degree. And if he can hold up Gosby for the last 15 laps of this race, then that will be a nice couple of points for the Oromia team, who haven't really had best day with Costa down in 14th.
Yeah, I was suggesting that the John Lacey Esports Academy were going to be overtaken by HME Oramilla today. How that has changed. They are running in second position at the moment, and HME Oramilla only running in 9th inside the points and 12th outside of it. So things... Oh, sorry, 12th? Definitely not reading that right. I'm awake, don't worry. It's 14th, by the way. 5.3 seconds is your lead, 15 laps to go. Peter Burlak clearing off into the distance for a potential historic race victory. What could have been with Yanni Simicic? What could still be with pit stop strategies? I think Panzar's done a good job of recovering his position after that two-stop strategy, considering he is the highest placed on that second.
Fournier going wheel to wheel with Geordie's wires, and this has let Martin Gosby actually get up the inside. But they both wiggle on the exit. Gosby's going to have to go all the way around the outside. That's going to be very tricky, but he's got his car ahead. He's got his car ahead. Can he just keep ahead before turn number 10? Yes, he can. So that is a move for Martin Gosby, really made, because Wires couldn't get past Fournier.
Keep an eye on Wires, though, because the next man to try and get this. This is testament to how bad it's gone for ACR. But Simicic might be getting himself back into the points. He's going to be in that DRS zone. Zavaias is not actually quite as well. But Simicic will be trying to get back inside the points. ACR trying to scramble and recover whatever they can. And now Simicic. Eye on the points. Who was that who swapped position? Oh, no, no one. Just my game. We're okay. I'm still the one person that I'm curious about in this top lot is Janis Brakshock.
Lap did he pit on?
Same one as...
Oh, sorry. So Ice pits, yeah, we were expecting that. So that has released Yanni Simicic into the points.
Same lap as Burlak and Patel. I've got more confidence in Burlak and Patel for doing it.
I have confidence in Brakshock because he made the one-stop work, be it with the crash with Cosby. But he made that one-stop work in Monza. And he actually pit first in Monza, if I remember correctly. So
yeah,
I think it is going to be possible. Just have to see if Lukashek catches up to him in 12 laps or so. But it is looking good. And I think, we slightly underestimated how far these hard tyres can go. They're actually being a bit more durable than we thought.
Yeah, the undercuts really worked a good effect for certain people. The only person who's not really gone for an undercut today is actually Peter Burlak, who's leading it, which is, I think, a fortune has come his way a little bit.
Sometimes you need a bit of fortune as well as skill and the strategy.
Yeah, I was. What was I talking about? I think it was in a touring car championship. Like trying to win a touring car championship is 50% luck and 50% skill. Right, you've got that side where you need to have the ability to take advantage of any luck that comes your way, because if you're not quick enough, you're not in a position to take the luck anyway. So you kind of need a bit of both, and sometimes to take that sort of off-kilter victory, i.e. beating the likes of Simicic, maybe you do need just a little sprinkling, a little dusting of luck. I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but I'd say it's more 90-10.
Yeah, obviously in open wheels there's less sort of wheel banging and crashes in general and that sort of stuff. Where sometimes you can be just on the bad end of a bit of contact. Do expect pretty much zero contact between these drivers, but it does happen sometimes. So mostly it is down to just the driver's skill and their strategy.
Oh, Panzar and Lukashek. Oh, there's a bit. Speaking of contact, there's a little bit. These two racing very, very hard for what is fourth position. Panzar could be trying to get ACR onto the podium. Could he be the lone warrior that gets them up there? Ooh, well, we'll have to wait and see. He's on that two-stop strategy. He's already made that second stop, so he's on fresher rubber than all these guys ahead. Oh, really jumps the curb there. Obviously, that chicane a lot tighter than previous seasons. He's going to be in DRS range again. He's looking pretty strong at the moment. His previous lap time was a 39.6, the two ahead, 40.1, 40.5, so quicker than the two ahead. And should he keep that up, it would get him onto the podium.
Martin Gosby's going to try and go around the outside. Jeff Fournier, just like Simicic tried on Hoyer, but Thankfully, Jeff manages to get the braking zone, and Gosby switches back, but he can't quite get it on this occasion.
It's from going around the outside of that corner, you get met with a curb on the exit, and you just can't put the power down off it. And that's what happened to Gosby, of course, as you mentioned earlier. There's no assists in the World Championship of Formula Sim Racing. They have to do it all through driver's skill and his throttle management at that point. Potentially running a higher mixed mode, more power, more to really control, especially with some slightly worn tyres, so that the rear end wears out a little bit quicker. So maybe just not putting the power down quite as efficiently as he should. Directly behind him, though, is his teammate. He'll be desperate to get by again. Red mist alert.
Back to Robin Panzer. Round number 2, same corner. 1 lap later, he's got his front nose in there, so he's going to be trying to go round the outside of this corner, which is very difficult to do, as we've seen a couple of drivers crash here, and they've just done the same. But luckily they managed to lose their front wing. Hard enough to lose it. That was certain on the limit.
Or Singapore
drivers.
Slick. Yeah, Singapore Sling. He was just having a look. Panzer's got he's obviously got the advantage on speed. I don't think he's brave enough on the brakes, though. You saw this into that left-hander. He left his nose in there. Not quite enough. He carried more corner speed, which is what really dragged them side by side. But the thing was, there was a little bit of contact between the two as Panzer was desperate to hold him as tight to the inside of the hairpin. Lukaszek was like, nah, I'm not having that. The contact on the exit was always kind of going to happen. Panzer can be a little bit aggrieved by it, but it's not going to get a penalty or anything.
Fournier actually got overtaken by Martin Gosby on this this DRS zone. So let's have a look how he did this to get the slipstream. Probably a bit of quali boost, because this is huge overspeed, and he gets right down the inside and chance of recovering Jeff Fournier. Which means Martin Gosby is now up into 8th place. Crazy how things can change in the matter of stop or two.
Yeah, it's not been the kindest for some, but it's really working out for others. Jeffrey Fournier has not had a really good Grand Prix, to be honest. He's going to be dropping down and potentially under threat for not scoring a single point this afternoon. Yanis Simičić, the next one to try and pass him. Daniel Kish afterwards.
Sorry, Panzer again, but this time he's managed to actually get him in the braking zone rather than sort of going through it.
Oh, Kazdorp and Hoyer as well, directly behind 6th and 7th position. Hoyer gets by. Good Grand Prix from Hoyer, with the exception of that incident with Yanis Simičić. From the back of the grid, has made it up to 6th position. This could be one of his best drives to date for Michi Hoyer.
This is good for the ground effect team as well. They're just picking off these results here and there. Araneda got a 4th place and a 5th place in recent races as well. They're just chipping away at these good results, and they've got a couple of drivers now, so maybe next year they'll have a proper shot at becoming a top team.
Yeah, they've got potential to. Just whether you can put all the pieces together. That's the hard part. I don't think Panzer realistically can get onto the podium. He's got 10 laps and 7 seconds to catch. What does he do? His first lap getting by Lukaszek. He's setting a really good middle sector, actually. Once he crosses the line, he'll set a 39.07. Oh, take that one back. He is definitely in podium contention with that. That's 1.5 seconds quicker than Janis Brakshock. So Ghost Speed might be taken off the podium.
It's still got 5 seconds to go, so got to get at least half a second a lap. Probably a bit more than that, because there's only laps to go, actually. So yeah, a bit over half a second a lap he needs to get, and then overtake. So it's going to be tricky, but taking quite a few.
Yeah, he's certainly showing his class here, isn't he? Where others haven't gone so well. Robin Panzer showing to ACR, look, I am actually good enough to remain in this contingent for 2020. Of course, we're at that point where you need to be showing your ability. Again, in a championship like this, it's not just, oh, well, I'll do you a favour just because you're a mate. It's, no, you've got to prove yourself that you are one of the best in open wheelers to compete in this championship. Panzer has had a steady season. It hasn't been the best season. It hasn't been awe-inspiring at times, but he is currently sat 4th in the championship. He will be closing in a little bit on his teammate who's in 2nd at the moment. He's only 20 points off. And realistically, having a good Grand Prix here. He's had 2 podiums in 2019. Had a podium back in the French Grand Prix. Back in the Canadian Grand Prix, rather. And had a podium last time out, which was third. Got promoted to second thanks to Janis Brakshock, the man who's going to try and overtake if he wants to get back onto the podium for a third one of the season.
It's also ACR have so this second license is a loan license, so he needs to prove that ACR can invest the money in the second loan license for basically him to get the money back for them. So there's no point doing it if they're going losing money, and he's certainly pulling his weight, getting the good results here and there. Not a spectacular season, as you said, but he's certainly getting the good results when he needs them.
Yeah, well, I mean, today might be a good day. Another podium on his rostrum.
Is very close to Jeff Fournier. Jeff's going to go to the inside of the kink, but that means he will have the outside. So he doesn't particularly fight that, so Yane is up.
Whoa! Look at that! Did you see that moment for Jeffrey Fournier? That was absolutely monstrous as he now gets under attack from Daniel Kish. Huge moment out of that corner. Just could not put the power down.
He's obviously just trying to keep this position from Daniel Kish as well, as Kish is going to be pouncing, because sometimes the best opportunity to overtake is as soon as you come up to that person. Oh, as Jeff rear's gone. Maybe his rear tyres are going. This is going to give an opportunity for Kish to go down the inside. Does a nice dive bomb. Oh, he spins him. Spins him. I thought he was going to go. Oh!
Then Jeff couldn't put the power down and took him out.
That looked worse than it was. I'm pretty sure that was not intentional from Jeff. That looked quite bad, unfortunately.
Hand on heart, right, Jeff? I mean, he used to be not the cleanest driver in the world, but that I know what he's like now. That's not intentional.
So we're getting a replay here. So you're not going to see Kish because he's going to just slightly hit Jeff's rear end, and then as he gets it, he spins up the rears, and just bumps Kish as well. So I think that looked more intentional than it was. But yeah, I think Jeff's rears are done, or at least going, with 6 laps to go in this race at the end of this one.
Yeah, it's just one of those unfortunate things. Pretty clumsy on both parts, to be fair. Clumsy on the first part for Daniel Kish, kind of like just sticking his nose down the inside, and then Fournier, obviously with warm rear tyres anyway, now that they were roasting hot, just could not put the power down, clip the rear end, and that's it. Job done. Daniel Kish out of the race, adds to the retirement list. We've now got 5. Will Fournier add to that later? We'll wait and see. Janis Brakshock now under massive pressure from the ACR Blue for Robin Panzer.
Oh, he's caught him already. Wow. We thought, that'll be at the end of the race. Nope. Did it in 3 laps.
To do that, though, on the previous lap, Robin Panzer set the fastest, a 38.7, over a second and a half quicker than the man directly ahead of him. So a lot of pace in this car. Surely DRS, by pretty soon, potentially throwing some things Mohammed Patel's way for a second place, potentially.
So I think Robin's pace there just showed you how fast ACR are, but their strategy caught them out with traffic. They got held up in traffic, and it didn't work out for them. Yeah,
and obviously with the stuff that's happened on the front wing of Yane Simicic, which also cost Martin Gosby time. By the way, Martin Gosby set the fast lap. Here we go with Robin Panzer. He's going to get down the inside and straight past Janis Brakshock. Didn't even fight it there.
I think Brakshock's struggling. I think realised there was no point, as that was always going to happen. Robin's pace is pretty mighty. Does he have enough time to get to Mohammed Patel? 5 seconds, 5 laps? I have to see.
Simicic by Kazdorp as well. Martin Gosby sets the fastest lap of the race at 38.575. Yone Simicic is set at 38.932 as well. So decent pace coming in from all of the ACRs up and down the order. Well inside the points now, despite the issues they've had earlier in the race. To give you reference as to what's happening at the top end of the field, Mohammed Patel has set a 39.8 on the previous lap. Even with that overtake, a 39.6 for Robin Panzer over this lap presently. Gaining a little bit, but not too much, only a few tenths. So Mohammed Patel's trying to respond But should Panzer head back into the 38s, I don't think Patel has got a response for the Swedish driver.
But if Panzer gets second, then that will be unbelievable, to be honest, because 10-15 laps ago, we absolutely wrote off ACR, but as I just said, this shows ACR do have the pace, but they just didn't have the best strategy today. So last lap, Panzer obviously overtaking. Okay, even overtaking, Panzer was 0.6 quicker.
Yeah, set a personal best in the final sector. Mohammed Patel, as reference to show how much he's pushing, he set 2 personal bests. Even though he was 0.6 slower, he set 2 personal bests over that lap time. He set a personal best in the first sector again, a 27.4. In comparison, a 27.4 as well to Robin Panzer. It was 27.3 on the previous one. So they're all actually very, very similar at the top end. There is so much about to happen in this race. The battle for second is about to light up. Michi Hoyer is coming under attack from Martin Gosby. ACR maybe playing a little bit of fear for overtaking Hoyer, considering the earlier incidents in the race, but I'm sure they'll be. It was just an innocent mistake on Hoyer's part. I don't think it would repeat itself, and I'm sure they already know that. But sometimes you do approach things with caution. Potentially too much. Oh, Hoyer was a little bit loose on the rear end there, heading through the hairpin after the Anderson Bridge. Here he is, Martin Gosby, filling those mirrors. Not able to make anything stick just yet, but you can see Hoyer struggling a little bit on the rear tyres on that curve. Just loses the rear end a little bit. Losing contact with the road surface, just spinning them up a little bit more than he'd want to. Janis Brackshot's going to be under attack from his teammate. I'm sure he wouldn't fight that one too hard. A 4th and a 5th would be a great result for Go Speed. Go Speed trying to get back into a decent position to fight in the championship. They're currently in 6th at the moment, quite a long way off HME or Miller, but a few good results like this might work out for them to be one of their best points hauls of the season. They've scored points with both cars in all races since we came back from the summer break, and the one race before it as well. So potentially a good result. Martin Gosby on the back of Michi Hoyer, 6th and 7th. We'll keep an eye for the ones further up the order.
He's definitely got him here. He's so close, so he's going to be on the inside for turn 7, and he has made that work. Is Michi going to do anything to fight back? I don't think he's really got the opportunity or the tyres. Gosby's done well. Let's go back to P6 from all the issues that have happened, and again, 7 is a good result for Michi Hoyer.
I say, from the back of the grid, Michi Hoyer's actually had a really, really stunning drive. Obviously, that one kind of issue looming over him, which could potentially land him with a penalty. Well, obviously, that's down to the committee to decide what penalty he gets, provided it's reported as well. Maybe you'll have a conversation with Yane and it'll be all settled.
Especially if Yane comes and passes him in the next 3 laps.
Well, if you were Michi, you'd kind of show us an apology. Off you go. Although I know what Michi's like, so that's not going to happen. But if I were that driver and I'd cause that driver an issue, that's what I would do. It's nothing in the long shot, but it's realistically it's kind of like look, it was just a mistake. It was hard racing. I made a mistake.
Or at least not fighting, not necessarily giving him position, just not fighting.
Yeah, just like.
Oh, Yane! Oh, look at Yane!
He's not happy.
He's probably kind of assuming what we're assuming, that he's going to be given the position. And I think if he does, then ACR may think about not protesting because he got the position anyway. It's just it has also cost Yane a potential podium.
Potential race win. He was ahead of Burlak at the time, and Burlak is leading away.
Oh, here he goes.
Any fight? No.
So yeah, that's kind of what we expected. No real fight. So if we look at Robin Panzer, the timing does go a bit weird through this chicane for some reason, but he is about 2.5, almost 3 seconds behind Mohammed Patel with laps to go at the end of this one. So it's a bit of a long shot. It's down to 2.2 now.
Sorry, back end of the points. Mrocek, Van den Eet and Jeffrey Fournier all fighting over the final points paying position. There was a little bit of contact. Also, who's that who switched around? Lukashek and Brackshot have switched.
Yeah, that's kind of
Expected.
yeah, kind of expected. That keeps Lukashek away from Gosby, but Gosby might actually get
I was going to say, can you believe this?
Backshock. Yeah. After all this,
Simichich isn't that far behind either.
yeah, ACR's pace has helped them, to be honest. And people such as Kazdorp and Fournier haven't actually been as good as we kind of expected them to be. They've dropped off a fair amount in this last stint, and Gosby is actually probably going to overtake Backshock on this coming lap. Lap 59 we're on now. 3 laps to go, including this one.
Yeah, things really have been crazy here in Singapore. It's been a bit all over the place. As much as a 10-second lead for Burlak, believe me, that was not all we were expecting earlier on in the evening. Done a superb job. Janis Brakshock about to be overtaken by the Englishman of Martin Gosby, recovering after maybe a bit of poor strategy, a bit of bad luck, being held up by his teammate after an incident. Janis Brakshock drops down into 6th position. Surely it'll be dropping down to 7th prior to the end of the race.
And Robin Panzer, I just want to go on board now. He can see Mohammed Patel. He can see Mohammed Patel is getting very close. And his tyres are about 20 laps fresher, which is pretty crazy, but that is just how long these hard tyres can go.
Just to show you how much Gosby's pushing, by the way, he's at the fastest lap of the race in the previous lap of 38.3. Nearly 2 seconds quicker than most of the people ahead of him. So much pace left in ACR, a story of what could have been. We'll keep an eye on both the fight between Lukashek and Gosby and Panzer Patel. I mean, I was kind of expecting to see an ACR come up to the back of Lukashek at some point in the afternoon. I just wasn't expecting to be for 4th position. Lukashek's had a very, very good drive. Just things not quite worked out for him.
Yeah,
not quite worked out in the strategy we expected.
Gosby's going to probably get him. He is that close, but we are now onto the penultimate lap of the race. There's just under 10 kilometers to go now in this Singapore Grand Prix, which has been a very interesting Grand Prix, but we still do not know what the final order is going to be. And Simichich might look to get past as well, but we'll focus on Martin Gosby, who is going to have a nice slipstream. He's going to go to the inside for turn number 7. Lukashek has broken quite late and he's been able to defend that. And he's pushing Gosby. Oh, luckily there wasn't too much contact, so Gosby didn't end in the wall, but Gosby has certainly got the speed advantage to be able to make this work. And Panzer is now within DRS as well. So there's 3 battles to watch in these top stages. Let's quickly jump on board Panzer, but he cannot get it on this occasion. He'll have one more lap, and Gosby sent it into the hairpin. Gosby sent it into the hairpin, which is absolutely balked Brakshock as well, which isn't good for his fight with Yanni Simichich. But somehow Martin Gosby made that work off the hairpin.
Yeah, that was a brave move, sort of akin to the move that Massa and Senna did in 2012 at the circuit across the Anderson Bridge. But yeah, well done to Martin Gosby up at the 4th position. That's probably about as good as it's going to get, unless for some bizarre reason his teammate lets him go, which is not going to happen because he's fighting for 2nd. Yanni Simichich should be able to get past the last 2 as long as he can do it on the final lap, because that's it. We have 5 kilometers to go in this crazy, scintillating Singapore Grand Prix under the lights. So much to go for these guys. Can Yanni Simichich get up to a 5th with an incredible recovery? Definitely a champion's drive. Even 7th is pretty good. He's looking down the inside of Janis Brakshock. Nothing quite happening. Robin Panzer not really close enough to Mohammed Patel, who's really responded in pace to the ACR blue car who's coming. He's done a very good job to get himself back onto the podium on a strategy which really hasn't worked this afternoon. Martin Gosby now in completely clean air. Doesn't have to worry about anything else. Yanni Simichich not close enough to Janis Brakshock and Lukashek. Brakshock really going to play a rear gunner here to try and hang on to 5th and 6th for Ghostspeed.
Going on board with Robin Panzer, because he's literally right on the gearbox of Mohammed Patel now. He's probably not going to go down the inside of the hairpin. He's going to get this all set up. This is his last DRS chance. Oh, he didn't get the best exit. Did not get the best exit, so he's going to have to really try and make something work in this final sector, but that is pretty much his last opportunity gone. What about Yanni Simichich? He's side by side with Janos Brakshock coming down into the hairpin. He's going to go round the outside. Hopefully Braccio makes it stop like
Gonna
Mitch.
go
Oh
for
no,
an
he's
undercut.
gonna go for the undercut, and he's made that work.
Back to the front though. Petter Burlak, what a race it's been. He's been second twice in Singapore, but in 2019 he's broken ACR, and Petter Burlak takes his 14th win in the World Championship from second place on the grid. The first time that's ever happened in the Singapore Grand Prix. Petter Burlak victorious this afternoon. Mohammed Patel to second, his first podium of the season. We'll catch an interview with him later. That's been a great recovery for Jean Alesi Esports after only having one car on the grid. Robin Panzer, 2 stops to the podium. Martin Gosby gets to 4th. Lukaszek 5th. Holds on from Simoncic, who gets past Brakshock. Michi Hoyer from the back of the grid up to 8th. Danny van der Neet from the pit lane to 9th. Excellent job. Yuri Kazdorp scores a point, was all over the place in the order, ends that in 10th. Jeffrey Fournier, my pick, sorry. I might have really cursed you there, buddy. Down in 11th position, Mrocek, Costa, Zvayas and Michaels round out our finishers outside of the points. Retirements come the way of Kish, thanks to that contact with Fournier. Then Araneda with a suspension failure. I didn't quite see what happened there. Araneda and Callas both out with engine failures, and Luca D'Amelio leaving the race only 6 laps in. But my goodness me, it has finally been broken. It has taken 10 races, consecutive race victories for ACR. They couldn't get the 11th. The perfect season is not going to happen. And finally, someone else has taken that victory. Petter Burlak, what a drive after an hour and 43 minutes.
Yeah, that just shows you what this man still has. Even though he hasn't had the best season, he's got a couple of podiums here and there, but he hasn't had that race-winning pace. But today, he had the strategy, he had the pace, he made it work. And to be honest, he kind of destroyed everyone with that drive. That is unbelievable. Edge Esports.
Yeah, first race win for Edge Esports in the World Championship as well. They've been in it for a couple of years. They've had a few podiums. They had a single podium in their first season, courtesy of Jim Parasis at the British Grand Prix. Have had 6 podiums prior to this race. 1 from Daniel Kish and 5 from Petter Burlak. So it's now to 6 for Burlak. So realistically, that shows how important it is to sign a good driver, the likes of Burlak. And also very, very important with Gosby finishing in 4th position, Burlak finishing in 1st. The important thing to note from that is Burlak is now 2nd in the standings.
Yeah, that was a good drive for him. Championship as well, as you say, 2nd in the standings, overtaking Martin Gosby. And as we know, ACR have got his car, and Edge certainly have not. So to be able to get 2nd in the championship would be a good achievement. But there are still 3 races left as we head into the season.
Yeah, the fear that I would have for if I was Gosby is how strong Burlak gets in the final part of the season. He's always shown really, really well, even since 2013 when he took his first race victory in the final race of the season, when he was just doing it for Twister Racing in a random sort of, not really one-off drive, but just jumping in basically in the final race. He's did a few over the season. But he always gets stronger as it goes on. If you look at his race victories, a lot of them come at the end of the season. In fact, the last 3 seasons that he's done in the World Championship full-time, sort of, the final 2 races in the United States and Brazil in 2015, 16 and 18, he's won both of them back-to-back. So that shows the impressive form that he has in the latter part of the season. One track that he's not won at, though, Japan.
And now Patel for an interview, so let's just jump there and speak to the 17 world champion.
Yeah, so we've got Mohammed Patel with us, and fantastic drive for you. A little bit of pressure to deal with in the latter part of that race, but very well done. A well-deserved 2nd place.
Yeah. Long time since I've been on the podium, or long time since I've done actually a race where I've got something to be proud of, or something like that. So first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to Petter, and also for once we had some fun practicing. for this one. So we had a couple of changes to the setup, and it was all working, and it was all quite fine and all quite fun. And I always had a feeling that Petter could have achieved something on the podium or tried to fight for the win, because Singapore and Petter is like the dream combination. For myself, I was a little bit disappointed in qualifying. Maybe could have gained one more place, but maybe the lap wasn't so awesome. Then I kind of thought Simoncic was one-stopping and the ACRs were one-stopping with their pace in the first, because they clearly were backing everyone up. But then when they pitted lap 9, lap 10, I was like, oh, we might have something to play with. I didn't really have a lot of pace in the start of the hards, and also had no slipstream, and so I kind of was by myself, which didn't help me too much. And then we didn't do stints, so the hard stint that we were doing was purely just guessing what the tires would do at the end and how much we can push and how much we can't push. So I tried to protect a little bit, managed to see if I could make sure that we have as little drop as possible, but it wasn't really worth the while. So maybe I might have wasted 1 or 2 or 3 laps in that like last 10, 15 laps of the race, 20 laps of the race, trying to reduce my wear and being like 1 second, half a second of the pace. And then I decided, after seeing like Pansar being able to do 39.0, just to push and hope that I can deal with the car with the slides at the end. And thankfully it paid off. I had a little bit of fuel left, but I think Robin probably had no fuel, considering he had to overtake a couple of people. So that probably just about saved me.
Yeah, well, I mean, Singapore, your first podium of the season. It's not been the best run. We'll try to drag straight much like towards that. But we're heading into Japan. Now, Japan is a circuit to you which has, I don't really know how to say this without being like rude. Your last race victory was there 2 years ago, so a fair while. You're taking some confidence in there. You wrapped up a championship there in 2017. Now you've had a podium in Singapore. Are you taking some more confidence there, potentially for a cheeky one?
I think ACR are a formidable force. So once again, the favorite will be Erne or Martin or Robin, because they've been doing an excellent job all season. So I think, first of all, you have those 3 guys who are ahead of the pecking order in that sense. Petter, again, has always, whenever he's done a little bit of practice, not even a lot, but whenever he's done a little bit of practice, he's always been closer to the pace than me. And then even you have Janos and a couple of other guys, even maybe Ormelia guys that are quite quick. So I don't know. I'm not that fussed. I know that this season's have been great, but there've been reasons for it as well. So we'll just have fun and see what it is. At least Suzuka will be a nice circuit to drive. So maybe I'll have some incentive to practice.
Wow, thank you very much for joining us. I say, fantastic drive. It's good to see you back on the podium. Good to hear your voice back in the World Championship. Mohammed Patel finished second in the Singapore Grand Prix, but the next person will be the victor himself, Mr. Petter Burlak. Take a bow, the first man to defeat ACR, maybe with a little bit of 10%. I'd say 5. We're going to go 5% luck with what happened. You were looking so strong through the first part of the race anyway, and then absolutely converted brilliantly. They're also 1 or 2 stops, so I'm going 100% actually. We'll go for 100% skill. Well done. Race victory. How does it feel to be back on the top step?
Oh, yeah, very tough race. Feels really great. I don't know about that luck. Maybe there was some, yeah, because I wasn't sure if Yerne was doing a 1 stop or not, because I pushed a bit more than I would have wanted in the first stint, trying to follow him. So I pitted maybe 2 laps before the ideal stint length. And so my tires were a bit on the edge. I was on the cliff last 2 laps. I didn't want to risk anything, but it was a pretty tough challenge. So yo-yoing the tires around, like 0.2% wear more or less would make the difference. So that was tough to manage, but I somehow did it. And I would like to thank also Mohammed, because he helped me with the setup, so we were quick in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying it on the broadcast. You always seem to come strong towards the end of the seasons. Anyway, in fact, you've won the final race of the season 4 times. By the way, obviously a big fan of Interlagos. You were potentially going to win back in Spa. Unfortunately, through a spin at Les Combes, you were unable to. Still finished in a really good spot, showing some really, really good form towards the end of the season once more. how are we feeling about the final few rounds? Are we definitely trying to mount a challenge for set? Obviously, second now, but maybe bring some confidence into 2020.
Well, 2020 is a bit too far away. I'm not sure about that one. But regarding our form, it was just the first time in quite a while that I managed to get some practice in. So probably first time since Baku. So uh, that was the key part there. So we actually found a little bit in the setup like yesterday, and I think that made the difference in the end. And regarding the next races, um, I think we'll be able to prepare a bit better. I'm not sure, but still ACR are the favorites, of course.
Well, thank you very much, Race Victor. Petter Burlak, the first one for Edge Esports, the 14th of his career in the World Championship. Fantastic to hear from you for the first time as a victor in 2019. Robin Panzer couldn't join us for the interviews, but we do have a man who has showed some incredible pace, Martin Gosby. Race didn't quite go to plan there, Martin. Potentially wrong strategy, or maybe just caught out through that instant.
Well, I just want to say congrats to Petar and Moo for their result. They deserved it. As for me and the guys at ACR, we didn't really foresee a one stop. I mean, we thought it was possible, but yeah, we was more leaning towards a two stop. With Yone, we probably would have, if he didn't have his incident, it probably would have been a lot closer. So yeah.
Oh, he did manage to show some incredible pace. Unfortunately, in a certain way, it's the first time you've actually scored points since your race victory. Oh, sorry, it's actually since Hungary, rather. The last couple of races hadn't really gone to plan. Of course, Belgium with their technical fault, and then we'll ignore Italy. Where are you thinking about going for the next 3 rounds? You've got to beat Petter Burlak, who's now overtaken you in the standings 4 seconds. So I'm sure that's your goal. Are you going to be pushing extra super duper hard for the next 3?
Yeah, I'll have to put some effort in now. I mean, after the last 2, it was a bit disappointing. So yeah, for Singapore, I didn't practice, which is my fault. I just procrastinated and didn't bother, so that's my own fault. But yeah, for Suzuka and Kota in Brazil, I think it is. Yeah, I'll definitely put in a bit more effort, and Petar is definitely a strong guy, so we can expect Patel and Michaela also to be up there if their setup is on par.
Well, you have won at Suzuka before, back in 2014 for the second race victory that you've had. Feeling a little bit of confidence heading in there, trying to rack up number 6 of your career in the third of the season.
Yeah, it's a nice track. I think everyone enjoys it. I managed to have a win in the second tier in GPVWC a few weeks ago, so I'm hoping I have good pace there, and maybe we need to try and improve the setup a little bit more, try and squeeze a bit more, and try a bit harder.
Well, I mean, even after a race maybe didn't go to plan, you still finished high up in the points. So congratulations to Martin Gosby. Unfortunately, maybe not the race that ACR would have wanted, but it is the one that they got nonetheless. Cam, what a race we had. What a race. Crazy, crazy scenes here at Singapore. And ACR potentially dethroned. Yeah, of course, only 3 rounds of this 14-round championship to go. We've got the Japanese Grand Prix on the 20th of October. Then after that, we head over to the United States on the 10th of November before wrapping things up at the legendary Interlagos in Brazil on November the 24th. So remember those dates. Join us, subscribe to Formula Sim Racing, and also follow us on Facebook for further updates as we head through the championship. Again, we did say that it was wrapped up for Jene Simoncic's title, but there is plenty more to play for, and so much more action to come. Please do join us for the rest of the season. Thank you very much for watching. Lewis McGlade alongside Cameron Rodger, who's done basically everything today, so thanks to him. Thank you all for watching and all for taking part. And until next time, goodbye.